Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know, I'm your humble host, the Yao Mean of Revolution. Elon Musk just put an end to Trump's career. Wow. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, it's over for Trump. Putin can't save him. Nobody can save him now. He's being exposed by the world's richest man. You see, Trump, what happened when you shouldn't have played footsie? You brought this man into your house. Now he know all your secrets. As soon as you didn't want to go along with Elon just put it in to Trump and told the whole world, well, we're not going after Epstein because Trump is in the Epstein files. Wow.
We're supposed to be done with the show, but we have major news on the Elon Musk Donald Trump front.
Just very devastating.
Across the wire. Literally just saw this. And so if you didn't think their falling out was real, their falling out is quite real. This is a real tweet from Elon Musk 10 minutes ago. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
Now, Trump is supposed to sue that man. If he not in the Epstein files, absolutely, you're supposed to sue Elon Musk immediately. He sued a lot of other people. In a couple of those news stations, and he won. If Elon is lying on you, Trump, to his tens of millions of followers, then Trump supposed to sue him.
You kidding me?
No.
Holy shit.
And he follows it up with, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Hold on. Let me see if I can increase the font size so you guys could see a little better. Is that better? Yeah, I just increased the font size so you guys can read it. Yeah. Well, I didn't know if that would change. Time to drop
Trump.
The really big.
Really thought he had Elon where he wanted him. Trump finding out that's the world's richest man, and you could be the president of the United States. You're not the world's richest man. That's a different level of power. That man tried to seize the United States financial abilities to do as he wished. He definitely did. Just think about an evil villain in a movie. That's Elon Musk. He has too much money. He's thinking all kind of different shit. Trump, I'm the president, sideline that man. They won't let that man finish doing what he wanted to do with our finances, and this is the repercussions.
Bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. That has 4.5 million views. It was tweeted 13 minutes ago.
Wow.
Alex Jones says, timeline pin drop. Joey Manarino, MAGA Chud. If he's in the Epstein files, why didn't
cutthroat? These motherfuckers savage, and I know Trump want to whack. I know Trump want to whack him right now. And Elon know that. Elon know that. He got real security. He know damn well Trump want to have him knocked off right now. He is the sitting U.S. president, and you just told his people that he don't want to release the files because he deep in the Epstein files.
Didn't buy it and release them. Okay,
because he's in the Epstein files.
You're right, exactly.
It was taking a nap in the corner.
Why'd you work for the guy if you knew this? Says Synth Potato. Hunter Weiss says, bro, did you short Tesla before tweeting today? Christopher Hale says, why did libs of TikTok lie to us, Elon? Swan says, really, you should have proof if you're going to allege it. What is your source, Elon? Wow. Noted. This is history, folks, says Historic Vids. Okay, well, now the era of the...
Oh yeah, man. I just checked to see if that was true. Tesla is down 16.3%.
Wow.
On this, because now people are like, well, now he's not getting those defense contracts.
The U.S. government should the U.S. government should target him for that. That's serious goddamn business for what he just did to the U.S. president. This man ain't a fucking citizen. But this go to show you, they all kissed his ass because he was the richest man in the motherfucking world. Money speaks. And Trump played fussies with a motherfucker who just got way too much paper to ever kneel to him or do what he say do. Elon Musk got too much money to do what Trump say do. He had his own plans, and they let this nigga tie government. He talking about slashing this, slashing that, cutting this, cutting that. That was none of his fucking business. He found out a little too much, dug around a little too much, seen a lot, but he already knew about the Epstein file. That was his trump card, and he played it.
Wow. That's amazing. Please up your security immediately.
Wow, man. Wow.
That is incredible that he would.
Okay, well, this goes to what I was saying earlier, man. That's our greatest hope as a nation, that these narcissists are going to turn on each other and these crackpots are going to collapse under the weight of their own incompetence. This is a perfect example.
Well, this is here, Matt Van
What did
Swole.
Cassine say? Go back. What did Cassine say?
He said, up your security immediately.
Oh,
so this is Matt Van Swole. This
Trump
is the guy
who look like the biggest sucker in the fucking world. You just started all that shit with South Africa for Elon Musk. You didn't give a shit about what was happening to white people in South Africa. Elon Musk told Trump to do that shit, and Trump was doing it. Now look, now Elon Musk done turned on your motherfucking ass, and we're gonna see. I bet you right now, Trump is he ain't gonna say one more word about white people in South Africa. Mark my word. And all the motherfuckers who came from South Africa over here, y'all ass finna get out the country. Watch what I tell you what Trump finna do. Y'all finna get the fuck out this country, man. He was doing the favor for Elon. Elon done did this to him, but he looked like a fucking sucker. You stirred all that shit up in South Africa for Elon Musk.
Who did a lot of like journalism around Western North Carolina, who is just a major Elon stan and major Trump stan, to the point where he consistently denies that Trump is screwing Western North Carolina out of FEMA funds. So this is this is a perfect example of a guy whose entire career is pumping Elon and Trump simultaneously.
Right. Yeah.
And here he says, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck is right, because the era of fence sitting is now over. You now can no longer be both an Elon stan and a Trump stan. What is this going to do for Alex Jones?
He just put down a down payment on his Lambo.
Exactly. Look at Alex Jones. Alex Jones is, all up Elon's ass and all up Trump's ass. Well, the feud is on now, folks. Shots fired.
Try not picking a side. I mean, Alex Jones is going to be really funny to watch now.
The thing about Elon is he gets emotional.
The thing about Elon is he's been given a fake version of the file, so he saw Trump's name in there.
Tough guy. He that tough. See, you a tough guy. What you gonna do about this? What are you gonna do, Trump? And Elon Musk added his ass. He wanted. I'll pin this to you. You're gonna get this notice. I'm gonna put you in this tweet. That's crazy. At the real Donald Trump is in there. That's disrespectful. that's more disrespectful than him just tweeting it out. You're gonna add this. So, I want you to see this and everybody else. That's crazy. Elon Musk is a fucking psychopath, bro. This is crazy that he would do this to the U.S. president, a narcissistic U.S. president. Elon Musk must got some more information. That man must be ready to bring this fucking government down. He found out they was ripping off, and we're gonna look at that too. Elon Musk is saying Trump passing that $1 trillion bill. He's saying the Americans are gonna pay with you're mortgaging America's future, which he don't give a shit about that. I just haven't found out what's his angle here. It ain't us, but he pretending like he gives a shit. I hope he ain't trying to run for president, because he can't, because you're a foreigner. You can't be running for no motherfucking president. That's why Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't run. You can be governor. He can be governor of one of these cities, but he can't be president. So I don't know what Elon is doing here.
In there, but Trump's name is not in here. So Elon's doing his best. He's trying to inform us, but he's misinformed in this case. Totally innocent mistake. I still love Elon. I still love Trump. Everybody love Elon, love Trump, love me. Buy the supplements and all that. Yeah, man. How do you fucking keep that going?
That can only be one.
That
goes.
I mean, that is one. I mean, if that's not a tweet of the year candidate, I don't know what is.
Wow.
That is fucking insane. And the egos on these guys, man. It's amazing. Like,
Trump who is no slouch in the vicious attack department, how is he gonna respond to this?
How is he going to
Wow.
respond to
That's
that?
why Tesla stock is down like that, because you know him, man. I mean, forget about government contracts; those are gone now. And this actually reinforces the idea Elon is whacked out on drugs, because this is such a self-destructive move. And now, I am gonna say I didn't want to go out on a limb on this. The Tesla board is going to end up moving to replace Elon as the CEO.
Okay, so here, so
So what?
I by the
For
end
what?
of the
They
year.
still got to pay him.
So
Who gives a
Trump
shit? They
51 minutes ago, I can't access the Truth Social on the computer. It's weird. You got to like sign in and shit, and I don't have an account. But so on my phone, I have it. So 51 minutes ago. So this was
This is
probably
what happened when you make a fictitious amount of monopoly money and try to make yourselves the most wealthiest people in human history. This is what happened. They create their own fucking Frankensteins like Bill Gates and Elon Musk. They create that, trying to pretend like they the wealthiest, cooking the books. So that people who dealing with them could have outrageous amounts of motherfucking money. Okay? Now you have to deal with these Frankensteins. You have to deal with these people. They're showing you right now. Elon Musk is showing you he don't give a shit. Trump has been more powerful, man. Elon just, man, nigga, you is a pervert. You in them Epstein's files and you lying to the people. That's what Elon just did. He said, I want all the smoke. Let's debate this. Let's talk about this with the whole world watching. You talking about national security? The CIA supposed to be thinking about offing that man. Nigga, this is a risk to national security. If the U.S. president lose face around the world and people think he's a pathetic joke and not respectable, man, that absolutely can get you hit.
a half hour before
Elon is on
tweeted out
drugs
the
for
thing about
sure. He didn't give a
Epstein.
damn.
Trump tweets out, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. Okay, so Trump admitted that they had a falling out, and then 35 minutes later, Elon thought, you know what? I'm just going to say he's in the Epstein files, and that's why they're not out. Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh, this is how these people fight, man. That's why I told you they were not going to keep it together.
Yeah.
They were not going to be able to keep it together.
Confederacy of scumbags.
Yeah, too many egos, too many chefs in the kitchen. Yeah, that is an amazing thing to fucking tweet out.
This is the Ocean Gate sub of administrations.
Yeah, exactly. That is an incredible thing to tweet out.
Yeah, that's
Elon Musk.
But that's something Elon would do, man. Yeah, you know, you want to get in bed. You want to get in
Alex
bed.
Jones, God help us all. That's good. I should retweet him. Should I retweet that?
Throw that up. Throw that up. I want to see that.
God help us all. Oh, sorry. I thought no, sorry. I thought we were sharing. Sorry about that. Yeah, Alex Jones, God help us all. I should retweet that, right? I'll take a live vote in the chat.
Guys were scaring Alex Jones.
Should I retweet Alex Jones? Should I retweet God help us all? I think that'd be a funny thing to retweet. What do you think, Russell? Should I retweet it?
I
We'll make an executive decision.
Maybe quote tweet it.
Yeah.
Come up with some commentary.
See, Trump,
just retweet.
Right.
First thing Trump should do is go ahead and do good business with South Africa. That's what he's gonna do. That's what's gonna hurt Elon Musk more than anything else is for Trump to have another meeting with the South African president and talk Turkey and talk trade and help make South Africa great again. Elon Musk hate that. Deport them motherfucking lying ass bigots came over here talking about white genocide. Watch Trump, because he only did it for Elon Musk. Now Elon Musk showed you no gratitude, did this to you. Your first order of business it's got to be sticking it to his ass with South Africa. That's gonna piss him off.
Oh God!
Those guys that do dissidents are into me. They give me a retweet.
They give me a retweet. Thanks, fellas. Yeah.
Thanks, fellas. I need all the help I can get today.
I'm going to send you a month's supply of my new supplement. Yeah. Make your dick hard as a rock. Yeah.
No, look, man, that Elon money is nice. But what did you think would happen with a volatile billionaire? This is a guy whose character is such that he would attack Thai divers for not accepting his stupid submarine idea. That's who you're dealing with, man. He's a fucking lunatic. But I also think he's having a drug-fueled meltdown. Because this is so ridiculously self-destructive.
It's an insane thing to tweet out. That is an insane thing to tweet out.
Your whole company is hanging by a thread.
Right. Yeah.
And you just burned your Defense Department contracts, which was the only thing propping it up.
Yeah, man.
Nope.
I mean, that
They need him more than he need them.
Unbelievable.
The whole fucking Ukraine war is the only reason they can fight right now is they're using his Starlink. If Elon Musk say, "Hey, I'm gonna take my Starlink away," that's the end for Ukraine. They can't see. They have no eyes, no ears. It'll be over for them. They need him more than he need their ass.
It's unbelievable.
They shouldn't have did business with him like that.
Every day you would tweet that out.
Right. And that's
Because
something
think about it,
Trump
at this
can never
point,
forgive. He can never do business with Trump.
Yeah. Obviously, that's gone. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying in terms of his business, the business implications.
But in terms of the business and in terms of his brand, in terms of his followership, like he's already burned the libs. They're not coming back. No matter what you do, they're not coming back. Okay. I mean, he could fund Kamala Harris's 2028 campaign and they'd come back. That's what it would take. So Elon, hey, listen. All right. I know you're probably having a rough time right now.
A little free advice. Your
best bet at this point is just to become a lib. Just to say the whole thing was a put on.
Full on. Yeah.
The whole thing was a put on. This was all to expose.
I was a double agent.
This was all.
It was the only way I could get on the inside.
This was all to expose the xenophobia and the transphobia and the racism and the nationalism of the right. You made your point. It was all elaborate performance art. And now you have to dump tens of millions of dollars into Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg 2028. That's the only thing that could save you at this point, is to redeem yourself in their eyes, because you've crossed the point of no return here. I mean, there's no coming back from that. Yeah, you're on the Epstein.
Cross the Rubicon, my friend.
You're in the Epstein files. I mean, that fucks up everything for him. For him, because there was even with this falling out over the bill, because look, they were obviously at odds over the H-1B visa rights, and by at odds, I don't mean him and Trump, I mean him and MAGA, right? They had a back and forth over the visas where he was for them and they were against them, and he said they were racist. Okay, you're still in the tent at that point, because big picture, you're similar enough where people can reconcile that. This you can't. You have a falling out, you get booted out of the administration, and now you say the fucking guy is in the Epstein files. Like, now forget it.
That's even some people, some of the cope is it's a stock scheme, they're manipulating. No, man, because they'd go for if that were the case, they'd go for something that could conceivably be reconciled. Saying Trump is in the Epstein files, there's no, me and Elon had lunch,
he got in there. He wanted to pillage our financial stability in the U.S., hook up all his companies to our resources. That's what all the rest of the rest of the rich motherfuckers been doing, but never in the way he was going to do it. But he know damn well Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all them other bastards is side with Democrats. You see Trump, he know, please, y'all will lose all of the upcoming elections. If him and people like him don't throw some money their way, they don't fucked up. And that's why he can expose Trump and say the emperor has no clothes. Why? Because the rest of these bastards do anything for fucking money. All the rest of them Republicans, they're not going to turn on Elon Musk. For what? They love social media. Come on, they don't want him not posting their shit, or they know what they do with them algorithms.
They can't do that with that.
No,
they can't do that with that.
That is what you call scorched earth.
Please clap.
Breakup between Elon Musk and Donald Trump is getting juicy. I don't know how else to describe it, because This one is getting crazy. Elon Musk has said the reason why Donald Trump has not released the Epstein files is because he is in them. He says, time to drop a really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Wow, this is a breakup that has gone nasty, right? This is a nasty breakup.
We knew he was in them. We didn't know the extent. We knew he was in them. We know he used to party with Epstein, but we didn't know the extent of him being in them. Was you getting massages for them youngsters, and what was you doing? That's what the people didn't know. We do know that he salute Queen. We do know that he banned Epstein ass from Mar-a-Lago when Epstein tried to mess with an underage girl that was one of his buddy's daughters or something. He on record banning them, but people were like, okay, but Elon is saying, well, they go way further than what y'all knew.
Here for it. Let's not kid ourselves. So let's start off with how the day went. Donald Trump came out saying that he's very disappointed in Elon Musk.
So we've done a great job. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up in campaign for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if. But
Trump lied to Elon's face and said he was going to cut the spending in the government. You lied. You told that man that man came on and said, okay, let me show you where y'all can cut some waste. You said, okay. Next thing you know, you spending more money on the military. You lied. You giving all this money back to billionaires and stuff. Elon said, I didn't ask for that, but you're giving money to billionaires. When you talk about cutting taxes, brother, you're giving them their money. He knows about the tricks. It's a bunch of pork in this bill where you and all these Congress people, the senators, they finna get millions to their little pet projects and their bank accounts. You're like, y'all know I know this, and y'all still gonna try to pull this shit. And Trump was like, damn, man, get you a little some of this. And Elon was like, no, that ain't what the fuck we was supposed to be doing. That's serious business. That's why they falling out. Trump is let the politicians play him. Had he just stood for what he told the people, he wouldn't have got exposed like this. He told the people he was gonna cut that shit, but and Trump wealth done doubled since he been the president too. That's what's going on too. Like Trump getting rich than a motherfucker right now.
The governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him. But if you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently about his house being set on fire, which was terrible. But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have.
That's a lie. You don't want to have cars of all type. You won't let the Chinese send their electric cars to this market, and you did that for. That's another thing. They want all these Teslas running around America. They did that. The Chinese electric cars is better, and they cheaper, better vehicles, and they're cheaper. But since they kiss Elon ass so much, we can't get the Chinese motherfucker cars. Come on, man. Trump, Elon exposing y'all motherfucking ass. Let us get if you're mad at Elon, let us get them cheap Chinese electric cars then, bro.
Well, we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different. And I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that's next. But I'm very disappointed in him.
He hasn't said bad about me. Wait for it. 20 minutes later. Your ass is in the Epstein files. That's why you won't release him. Trump, is that bad?
A lot.
Did he? I just want to clarify. Did he raise any of these concerns with you privately before he raised them publicly? And this is the guy you put in charge of cutting spending. Should people not take him seriously about spending now? Are you saying this is all sour grapes?
No, he worked hard and he did a good job. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place. I think he got out there and all of a sudden he wasn't in this beautiful Oval Office, and he's got nice offices too. But there's something about this one. I was telling the chancellor, this is where it is. People come in
You
here.
let them politicians play you, Trump. Yeah, because you're supposed to be Mar-a-Lago, getting your mind right. Who gives a fuck about that place? That's what Elon's showing you. Who gives a fuck about that place? They the richest man in the motherfucking world. Since the beginning of time, y'all who been sitting in that seat been kissing the ass of the richest people. None of the richest people in the world had to become no motherfucking president. They don't give a shit. Y'all been doing. You was different. But now we know the small hats got your ass. And now the politicians told you, okay, Trump, you can get a lot of this money too, but small hats got you doing stupid shit. You know? But now you see you taking them digs at him. I think he misses this place. Oh man, Trump, come on, bro. You missed that motherfucking place. That man is out there getting real money.
Yeah, even from Germany. They come in and they walk into the Oval Office, and it's just a special place. It's, you know, World War I, it started and it ended here, and World War II, and so many other things. Everything big comes right from this beautiful space. What? It's now much more beautiful than it was 6 months ago. A lot of good things.
This man said World War I started right there. What? I'll be damn. World War I started in the White House or over the White House? Yeah, historians, did anybody ever know that? I never seen that, Mr. President. World War II, it started there too? I'll be damned.
Things are happening.
Now, World War III, now you're cooking. Now you're finally right. If your ass don't get right with Putin or you try that Iranian shit, then you'll finally be correct. World War III will be done started in that goddamn White House.
In this room.
And that White House lobby get hit.
He's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly. And some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it. But we have it with others too. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone. The whole world is different and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it and you'll let us know. Yeah.
Okay, so the bromance is officially over. He even says, he hasn't said anything bad about me yet, but and certainly, and then after this, Elon absolutely did by throwing him under the bus with the Epstein files. Elon responded to this saying, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. But
that's a fact. That's a fact. Elon Musk, that's why the Democrats are so pissed. Elon Musk absolutely tipped the scale his way, financed him, gave him the finances that he needed, and then that social media run he was giving them over there. That is absolutely true.
In gratitude. And then Elon also tweeted out, where is this guy? And he's showing a bunch of images of Donald Trump's former tweets where he said, we could use the balanced budget amendment. Politicians don't have the will to cut spending. He also says, I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I'm a Republican and I'm embarrassed. These were from 2011, 2013, 2011. We need a balanced budget amendment because Congress has no fiscal discipline. 2012, Donald Trump says the Republicans should not give Barack Obama the authority to raise the debt another 1.2 trillion. Now they're raising it 5 trillion. Let's see. Another one, he says, Barack Obama is bankrupting this country. His budget adds another 4.4 trillion to the debt, putting us over 20 trillion in total debt by 2016. So it goes on and on, right? So these are the things that Donald Trump used to say, and Elon Musk is saying, where is this guy? Like, this is the guy that people were voting for. Trump then hits back at Elon and says, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. So he's trying to claim that it was the removal of the EV mandate, of basically getting some rebates or the mandates. And that is, I just have a hard time believing that that is why Elon Musk, just was incensed and was like, how dare you? A lot of people are going EV naturally. People wanted to buy Teslas naturally. Plenty of people are also still buying gas cars. I don't think that there's, the EV mandate. I mean, I suppose you could blame it on that, but I think that there's also, I really think that Elon Musk was really married to Doge. I mean, I think that's what this boiled down to, is that Elon Musk wanted the Doge thing to happen. He was all in on that. And Trump then basically nuked it. I said, okay, yeah, go and cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that. Oh, and now that you've cut all of this, we're going to add a bunch to the budget and we're actually going to raise the deficit. And I think that just really upset Elon. I think he really went in there thinking that we were going to slash the deficit, that we were going to slash the budget, that we were going to actually do something to turn this around. And that didn't happen. I think that's really, he was just married to Doge. And Trump took a giant dump on Doge, essentially. Trump also said, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Whoa.
See?
Ooh.
See?
Donald Trump.
See? That's the Trump that we knew. He said, you want to talk about saving some money? I know how we can save the government some money. He said to terminate your billions of dollars in subsidies with your contracts. They should terminate them. Good. I bet Putin would love for y'all to terminate those billions in those subsidies and contracts and end his Starlink in Ukraine. Elon Musk should say, okay, y'all want me to go away? Well, Ukraine, your ass is blind now. No more Starlink.
Trump is getting himself into hot water on this one. As president of the United States, I don't think you can, out of political, use your office for power like this in a way that isn't, I think this is breaking the law, quite honestly. I don't think that you can wield your power like this as president because you're upset with somebody and then say, now the government's just going to rescind all of your government contracts. Yeah, I don't think you can actually do that. I don't think you could do that. So Trump is now playing nasty. We're all here to see it. I don't think this is legal. I don't think this is good. So, but he's basically threatening Elon Musk now, saying, we're going to rescind all of your government contracts because you're a big baby and you don't like me anymore. And yeah, you can't use your power in that way. And then that's when Elon Musk dropped the really big bomb. And this is a really big bomb, that Trump is in the Epstein files. And that is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. I don't think it's just Donald Trump who's in the Epstein files. I'm not surprised if he's in them. I mean, this is the guy that owned the Miss Universe pageant. Young girls were parading around in swimsuits and in dressing rooms, and he walked in. I mean, I don't think there's any surprise that he would indulge himself in the debauchery and
bullshit. See, bullshit. That's a lie. It would be very shocking. Being a playboy at a young age and dealing with women of age, whether they call girls or whatever. That's what we thought. Massages for minors. Oh no, hell no. That's very powerful, damaging information. That's you use a scumbag and a sleazy pervert, just like Bill Clinton. Then he on Bill Clinton plane. So no, we want to know. Elon is hitting that you the same pervert as Bill Clinton. You wouldn't just run there no gigolo with call girls and shit like that, because Epstein had that too. The youngsters that with the age, I'm saying youngsters with the night they 20, 21, but he had them youngsters, teenagers, real children, giving massages. So that's the motherfucking difference that people which one were you, Trump? And Elon is saying that what he was doing, what Bill Clinton was doing, messing with the minors.
And abuse and manipulation and blackmail that Epstein was into. I think that Trump probably participated in that, but so did a lot of others. I mean, there's a lot of politicians, I'm sure, who are sitting in office.
If all that's true, then it's going to lead back to, okay, well, Trump, you got that man killed. You the one got him killed. You the one got him killed. When you was president, he died on the watch of your Justice Department. Y'all point fingers everywhere you want. Epstein got whacked arrested and whacked under Trump's motherfucking watch.
Us right now, those who used to sit in office, those who are sitting in office, and those who will be sitting in office, who are in the Epstein files. And that's the problem with the Epstein files. That's why we want them. It's not just about a big pedo ring. most of us want the Epstein files because we want to know how much blackmail, how much hot water are we in? What kind of blackmail does the country of Israel likely a Mossad operation? How much blackmail do they have on our politicians? How is this why they all have to pledge allegiance in a mayoral debate? Is this why they all have to go to the Wailing Wall? Is this why they all have to take their first foreign trip to Israel? It's because they're all on the Epstein list. Yeah, I think that could be the reason. And that is why we want the files. Not because we want to just take down the pedos and hold them accountable. No, we want to hold accountable the fact that our country is being blackmailed, that our country is being held hostage by a foreign Middle Eastern nation. That is what we want to know. And so I think it makes a lot of sense if Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. I mean, he has done anything and everything Israel has wanted, essentially, including inching us closer and closer to war with Iran. So, that's if that's the real reason. Now, some people will say, well, there's a picture of Elon Musk with Maxine, what's her name? The madam. Her name has just slipped me right now. I always say it wrong anyway. Her name, you guys know the face. I'm right now, just my mind has gone blank. But there's a photograph of him with her. There's pictures of Epstein with a lot of powerful people. It doesn't mean that they're in the book, but Epstein and his madam, his handler, his Mossad handler, were out there, going to many parties, rubbing elbows, trying to gain the contacts of many influential people in order to get them into their circle so that they could blackmail them. And so there's a lot of pictures of people out there, but Elon might be in the book. It could be that the Clinton, Bill Clinton, there's a lot of chatter about him being in the book. A lot of the victims say that they saw Clinton on the island. I mean, there are so many different politicians who are on the Epstein list. And
when you walk in the Epstein mansion on the island, when you walk into the double doors, when you open the double doors, everybody know the first thing you see is a big picture, a big painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. This is the type of shit, the humiliating shit that they don't want to be talking about. That when you walk into Epstein's island mansion, the ex-president of the United States has a portrait in a dress. You see what I'm saying? And I believe that was just Epstein reminding Bill Clinton and everybody else that he got the pictures and the videos of his ass in that motherfucking dress.
That's why we don't have them. That's the real reason why we don't have them. And it is true. I don't think anybody can get into office for whatever reason in this country. It seems like you can't get into office unless you somehow are on this list. It seems like only those who are easily controllable can make it into office. And maybe that's why we never will get the list until we get a clean politician. But are we going to? I just don't see us getting one. So, but wow, this took a turn fast between Elon and Donald Trump, didn't it? I wasn't really expecting that. But I'm here for it, and I'm sure you are as well. We'll see. The night is still young. We'll see how these two, what happens tomorrow, and we'll see if Donald Trump responds. He did respond a little bit, but it wasn't to this. It's not clear if he even saw this tweet from Elon Musk, because Donald Trump did end up saying, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. And then he goes on to talk about the big, beautiful bill. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again, is what Donald Trump said in his latest Truth Social post. But unclear if he'd seen Elon Musk outing him as being on the Epstein list or not. But I'm sure we're going to have more of this tomorrow. I'm sure of it. But hey, right, we're all here for it.
So Elon Musk is going scorched earth on Donald Trump and the Republicans because turns out they were all lying when they were campaigning to you. It turns out it was a big lie.
And now Trump think mainstream media, he called them fake news, that they was trying to tear him down. Nobody watches mainstream media. This man is on X, formerly Twitter. Everybody's on there. And he's ripping Trump a new motherfucking ass. His Truth Social, that's his platform. Nobody's on there but him and his people. Everybody's on X. And what Elon Musk is doing is showing, bro, everything you ran on, you were lying about. Now, I'm already calling him out about this war and all kind of the little bigoted bullshit they've been putting. Elon Musk is showing. Y'all been lying. Y'all done scam. Y'all don't give a damn about adding more money to the U.S. debt. All that was a finesse and a lie. Trump can't fight that.
Doge was a big lie. I think Elon Musk feels used, and because they
doesn't appreciate getting hit in the eye,
and he probably didn't appreciate getting punched in the eye by whatever deep state guy did that to him. So Trump was supposed to come in and blow up the deep state, and all he's doing is fortifying it. That's exactly what's happening. And in case you don't know that, well, here's Elon Musk to let you know part of it. They never went to the Pentagon. In fact, Donald Trump and the GOP are drastically increasing the Pentagon's budget. The place where there's more waste, fraud, and I mean, if there's a ground zero for waste, fraud, and abuse, it's the Pentagon. They never went to the Pentagon. They never did that. They promised to. Elon Musk promised to. He actually said he was going to do that. He said, "Oh, it sounds like a job for Doge," and they never did it. Now, I'm going to guess Elon Musk wasn't allowed to. Maybe. Maybe he didn't go
get punched in your eye trying to go there.
Yeah, maybe he didn't go there because he's also a defense contractor and he gets a ton of money from them, but from the Pentagon, and he didn't want to piss them off. Who knows? Here he is. He goes, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination." Wow. Shame on those who voted for it. Shame. He's saying shame on Donald Trump. He's saying shame on the Speaker Johnson. He's saying shame on everybody except Thomas Massey.
Well, he's the guy who's right.
That's right. You did wrong. You know it. That was June 3rd at 10:31 a.m. And when Elon Musk goes scorched earth, he's one of the few guys that can actually scorch the earth. I mean, I'm just saying, watch when he's going to land a starship on your bedroom while you're sleeping.
Oh. I like that everybody thought, every dumbass Democrat I know thought that Elon was secretly in charge.
Yeah. They didn't make They didn't make any of those cuts. The Doge said, but Bill Clinton and Al Gore, they bragged that they cut 240,000 jobs from the federal government when they were president. That was their big. Do you remember that? And the era of big government is over, and they bragged that they cut 240,000 jobs from the federal government. And so Elon Musk comes in, identifies all this waste, fraud, and abuse, and the Republicans in Congress won't even take a vote on cutting it. They're not cutting it. So they're just
it's not waste at all, but they're stealing it on purpose, and there's not a mistake.
That's right. It's not waste. They're
incompetent. They have very definite ideas of what they do. You just don't get to know.
Right. It's corruption on purpose. And so then Donald Trump just takes that money that was being dispersed through USAID and he gives it to Marco Rubio in the State Department to give out. So that's what's happening. Or they give it to the Pentagon. So here's another tweet by Elon Musk. He said he retweets him saying, "I'm sorry, I just can't stand anymore. This is a disgusting abomination." And he says it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to 2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushing unsustainable debt. So how this affects regular people is that it will eventually create hyperinflation and crazy interest rates, and nobody will be able to afford a house. Your kids won't be able. Finally, they figured out a way. So, So Wall Street Mab tweets out, our annual U.S. budget deficit is going to be over $2 trillion per year going forward.
Ridiculous.
We pay over $100 billion per month just in interest on the national debt. That's $1.2 trillion a year just in interest.
People never plan on
That is about 25% of all government revenue going to pay interest. And Elon Musk tweets that out, and he says interest payments already consume 25% of all government revenue. If the massive deficit spending continues, which it will, believe me, the deficit spending will continue until morale improves. That is a twist on the old phrase, the beatings will continue until morale improves. That's what this is. If the massive deficit spending continues, there will only be money for interest payments and nothing else. No Social Security, no medical, no defense, no nothing.
If only we printed the money and could somehow not have to go through it that way.
If only.
But nobody knows why we do that.
Nobody can answer why we borrow money when we print it as ourselves. No one can answer that. The head of Joe Biden's economic council couldn't answer it. Couldn't even really understand how our money system works. And he was the head of.
He understood the question,
and he couldn't even understand the question. So Elon Musk retweets this guy out. So he's talking about Geiger Capital. Talks about, just to try to give you a perspective of how much money a billion and a trillion is. So he says 1 million seconds ago was May 23rd. Not that long ago, right? 1 million seconds. Well, how long was 1 billion seconds ago? 1 billion seconds ago was 1993. Wow. It's kind of like that joke I say when what's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion? About $1 billion. And so what's the difference between 1 billion and a trillion? Well, a trillion seconds ago was 30,000 BC. So that gives you the idea what a difference between 1 million, 1 billion, and a trillion is. So we're now, the U.S. national debt is now growing by $1 trillion every 6 months. Every 6 months, it grows by $1 trillion, which if those were seconds, it would be 30,000 BC. Just to let you know. So he retweets that, and he says, the immense level of overspending will drive America into debt slavery. Do you want to say so? You want here? Can I show you? This is the old the head of the Fed. What's his name? Anyway,
Jerome Powell.
This is Powell. Watch what he says.
The U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path, and that just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy.
I have the sense this worries you very much.
Over the long run, of course it does. Jeez. You know, we're borrowing from future generations. It's time for us to get back to putting a priority on fiscal sustainability, and sooner is better than later.
And the thing that's a big boner here is that Trump decided to, and the GOP decided.
Now, if these people owe all of this money, you would think, well, how the hell can you be giving Ukraine all this money? Because it's a money laundering scheme. They're giving Ukraine shit. Trump did not prove that. It is a money laundering scheme. They're taking it from us. They're fleecing the tax base, us. All of y'all who work, you pay taxes. They're stealing your money because they got to keep it's a one big scam. They got to keep making the reasons like China's a threat to national security. We must, Taiwan, China is looking crazy at Japan. The biggest defense budget in world history. That's what Trump just did. They ain't waving no magical wand that came up with no money. That means more out your pocket. In the fight in China. What? You are broke. Who ever heard of broke people fighting anybody? And you don't have no money to fight no war. America is broke. I've been telling people this. The people. That's what really should piss all y'all off. Y'all are the value to America. The people, the bankers look at y'all as the value. So they got to keep on coming up with bullshit reasons like Iran. So we must send money to Israel. More money laundering going on. Oh, we must send money to Africa to fight AIDS, to fight poverty. More money laundering going on. See, they're broke. They really don't have no money to give nobody nothing. They owe $30-some trillion. And this is the craziest shit I ever heard. we're the richest nation in the history of, you are the nation who owe $32 trillion. No other nation could ever dream of that. How are you going to be the richest nation in humanity and you owe $33 trillion? That's crazy, them motherfuckers.
Decided to go ahead and cut health care, cut medical benefits, Medicaid to working people and poor people, and cut food stamps, by hundreds of billions of dollars, not touching the Pentagon, the thing that everybody wants cut. And they're still not reducing the deficit. They're still exploding the deficit by an extra $2 trillion. And it's probably an extra $5 trillion, probably more than that. So they're not, so they went and screwed you. So they gave you all the pain and you get none of the benefits.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, Bernie Madoff couldn't ever stop his scam. He literally, if he wanted to put a stop to it, he never could.
Right.
So they're going to have the whole, hey, this is going to drive America to death slavery. That must be our ultimate goal, because Jerome Powell, the guy from the Fed, was telling them this. So what is it? They don't know. It's just for me to worry about, not the people.
Right.
Not the people there. They want it to happen. There's no other explanation, because this is a thing I've heard about my whole life.
So he also tweets this out. So not Jerome Powell tweeted out, this is not Apple.
I never knew America owed no money. I wasn't paying attention growing up. Because I know you're supposed to pay your debt. This is what I always knew. If you didn't pay your debt, you a deadbeat. If you don't pay your debt, hey, nobody loaning you. I mean, you on your ass. You a bum. You need to get your shit together. That's what if you can't pay debt, that's the labels you get in the society. Well, America can't pay their debt, but they are supposed to be the shining example, and that is a finesse, and this is a Ponzi scheme, and it's bad. Bro, it's gonna all collapse, and then violence come with it. Once it collapses, empire. But these people that we sit here, and you can watch videos where they preparing bunkers, and you're like, oh wow, people in the countryside, they preparing bunkers underground and all that. You're like, oh wow, that's nice. These people get prepared for the collapse. This ain't no game. People storing a decade worth of supplies in the shed and stuff like that. This is not a joke. They're preparing for the collapse. They know it's coming. When ain't gonna be. You see what happened with COVID? How fast toilet paper and shit like that ran out. These people preparing for the day. Hey, Walmart, boy, please. It was a place called Walmart. Your ass got to be prepared, bro. It's coming.
Tesla or even Nvidia. This is the U.S. national debt, and look how it just goes. And we're up to 36 trillion, on our way to 37 trillion, and look how it just ballooned since 2000. Just bam.
And Pentagon can't pass an audit.
And the Pentagon will not pass an audit. So basically, people are going to be setting their own Teslas on fire just to stay warm this winter.
See how the timeline coincides with Catherine Austin Fitts explaining how we had trillions of dollars stolen?
Yes.
Since this roughly, she said 97, but it's roughly, you look at the spikes.
So here's another tweet from Elon Musk. The rabbit hole said it took over 200 years for the United States debt to reach 12 trillion. 12 trillion is now how much we added in 4 years between 2020 and 2024. So we are adding as much debt in 4 years as it took us to add in 200 years. And Elon retweets that and says America is
that's crazy.
In the fast lane.
We say, what about our reparations? We don't have no money for that. What? Bitch, you is coming up with money for any scam you can come up with. That's the disgusting part about it. Bitch, you got a print press. Give us our motherfucking money in our lane. And when you say that, where we gonna get it? And guess what? Even black Congress people tell you that. Where we gonna get the money? Coon, shut up. You never say that until we ask about ours. You never say where the money gonna come from, shoe shiner, until we asking about ours. Deadbeat America, you owe us our motherfucking money. Now, I don't give a shit. When the shit at the fan, we season land. I want the shit at the fan. We season land. Bitch, I don't give a fuck if y'all run out of money. You ain't ran out of land yet. And we're going to get some nice plots here in America with rivers and streams running through it, with mountains and hills. Oh, yes, America. So guess what? It is bad for America in general, but for a lot of us, because I just got a feeling until everything collapses, shit not gonna be great for us. We're gonna rise from the ashes, and it's gonna be better than it ever been before.
Into debt slavery. And again, here's one of these nice charts. So there's with the start of the United States, and then boom. So that's what we're living through right now.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know what they're doing.
Because your government is completely captured by corporations and billionaires, and you don't live in a democracy. This is not what a democracy looks like. This is what oligarchs who are pillaging the treasury. They're hollowing out the country. That's what they do. That's what mafias do. We live in a mafia state, just like in Goodfellas. When they took over that restaurant, they'd put the booze and the food in the front door. They'd take it out the back door, resell it, put that money in their pocket. And then when the restaurant went belly up, they just burned it down for the insurance. And that's exactly what they're doing to our country. They're not investing in our country. They're not investing in you. They're sucking the money out. They're taking it from your health care. They're taking it from your education. They're taking it from your food stamps. They're taking it from your road construction, your school, they're taking it from everything they shouldn't be. And they're putting it in the hands of a handful of millionaires and billionaires who actually run the country and run the whole entire Western world. People like Klaus Schwab, people like the international banker who now is Carney, who's running Canada. That's who Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. Those are the people who actually run things. Right, Mark Andreessen, those are the people who run things. Not
don't forget
what,
because they're building all those bunkers, all those people,
and they're building.
Peter Thiel.
What Kurt's talking about is they're building underground bunkers. They're spending trillions of dollars building underground bunkers. And what? Go ahead, say it.
No, well, all those billionaires, like all the tech people, have built on. What's his name? The one from Facebook, the robot boy.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, and it's not a secret why they saying out loud at their tech. You watch these tech speeches; they're insane.
Yeah,
but it's because when they're just going to run out the clock till AGI comes out. You know, artificial general intelligence. The thing is going to come out any minute now because that's going to eliminate the white collar jobs. And the guy literally said at this convention, there's going to be a lot of civil unrest when that happens.
Yeah,
and that's why we have bunkers. So they're running the debt up. As soon as AGI comes out, all the laptop liberal dipshits out there, your jobs are gone. That's when, if you recall the Soviet Union, they united people that worked at all levels because they were mad. They've anticipated this. So you're going to be in the fire, and they're going to have bunkers until it clears up. And then they don't need you anymore when you're dead because they got AGI.
And so here's Elon Musk's final tweet that I got right before I came on air. Kill Bill. He tweeted that out, which means kill the bill. This budget bill.
I thought it was Bill Gates. I was like, that's a little bit too much if it's Bill Gates.
So, and of course, the way people have reacted to this is sadly predictable. So this person, Shuait Travel or whoever this person is, why are you stirring posts like this?
Pots.
Which side? Why are you stirring pots like this? Which side are you on? Pick
Israeli?
one.
Is that an Israeli?
We are confused who to follow. That's not that. So you see that's this. Oh, it's all about team sports. Which side are you on? How about Elon Musk should be on the side of the American people, just like Thomas Massey is on the side of the American people. That's the side you're supposed to be on, not Democrat, not Republican, not which billionaires control the Democrats, not which billionaires control the Republicans. You're supposed to be on the side of the American people and trying to get a hold on our fiscal sovereignty, which we are losing. It's gone. So this isn't going to end. Meaning the money printing and the spending and the borrowing and the debt. And so what does that lead to? That leads to hyperinflation and high interest rates. So people who have money saved, it's worthless, and people won't be able to buy houses. So that's what this is leading to. And it's coming faster than you think, I think. And that's why people like when Steve Bannon came on the show, he was talking about we have to do this to save our civilization. We have to do this to save our country. And people are willing to take hurt. I think people would take the hurt of cutting Medicaid or cutting food stamps. I think people would even be willing to cut other things if you were actually cutting the debt and deficit and it was going down instead of exploding. And if you were and if you were sharing the pain of that, if it wasn't just for people who relied on Medicaid and food stamps and Medicare and Social Security, if it wasn't just for those people who had to take the brunt of it, but it also got spread out to the billionaire class. Well, Trump's doing the exact opposite. He's making the tax cuts for those billionaires permanent. So the exact opposite of what everyone who voted for Trump thought they were voting for is happening. And you get people like this, who this is what's wrong with the country, that whoever this person is, the Shua Travel.
Get back in your pen.
Yeah.
Pick a side. See, as soon as someone's doing that, that's some manipulator class.
Yeah.
That's immediately suspect. Because I just looked up this person's Twitter right now, and they're talking about how we're spending too much and the deficit and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that's like not a good actor, whoever the hell that is.
Right. So pick a team. Our friend Blakely asked Grok to explain why this one big, beautiful bill is going to explode the debt and how it's going to hurt working people. Well, you know what? I'm going to save that for another segment. So there is Elon Musk crushing it. I mean, crushing the GOP and Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. And again, I'm no fan of Elon Musk. I don't have irrational hatred for him either. But
I haven't picked a billionaire myself that I like or hate. I don't give a rat's ass. All we learned from this is, no, Elon was not in charge, idiots. And guess who else isn't in charge? Trump, apparently.
Yeah, Trump is not. Yeah, so Trump is not actually in charge, and Elon Musk was never in charge, because that's why he's doing this. Because if he was in charge, he would have implemented some of the cuts from Doge. He couldn't. And guess what? They're not implemented. None of that money that he found is being cut from the budget. Did you know that? So they first said they were going to cut $2 trillion, and then it came down all the way down to like 160 billion. And people are like, well, we'll take what we can get. And they're not even cutting that.
You'll get nothing and like it. That's what you'll get.
Yeah, and you'll get nothing like it. So you'll get nothing and like it. You'll get no cuts and you'll like it. And Elon Musk's, trashed his reputation with half the country by doing this, and he got nothing out of it. It didn't do anything. It didn't work, except his reputation certainly got trashed with half the country. And his Tesla
didn't like him already.
And his Tesla
didn't like him already.
But his Tesla stock, his Tesla stock crashed. It wasn't crashing.
Democrats used to buy him.
It wasn't crashing before he teamed up with MAGA. It only crashed after he teamed up with MAGA. And so it was all for nothing. It was all for nothing. So Donald Trump is and the Republicans are turns out they're going to cut taxes for the billionaires and screw everybody else. Who saw that coming?
Peter Thiel, when he made J.D. Vance in a lab.
Yes, that's right.
Made him fat in a lab. I didn't say he created it.
Yeah.
Then, the Thiel and that other scumbag from Palantir, all those tech people, that's who runs. That's who's running stuff.
Hey, if you watch this show, you already know the media lies for the establishment.
Make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, well,
bam.
He said he regrets those, and he spent a lot
going scorch earth. Not only does he attack Trump with Epstein, with Bill Gates, being out violence.
He spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy.
Bam. Okay, so guess what? Elon Musk is ripping Bill Gates.
Great.
Elon Musk just ripped Bill Gates, saying that. Well, let's listen. Here it is.
To ask you about U.S. aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's
wondered,
also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
You queen.
Okay, well,
bam.
That's a low. I'm telling you, that is a low. This dude here, Man, that's a different type of money when you can do that type of shit to Trump and Bill Gates. This be on the news, be who the hell Bill Gates think he is? Talking about the welfare of children while he hanging around with Epstein. That's crazy.
He said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy.
Bam!
And the news lady, she trying to clean it up for Bill because we found out Bill Gates, he funded a lot of these news stations. Him and all of them being there, they give him a little something to keep going there, to talk glowingly about them, like this lady trying to do. You know, he funded a lot of his own stuff. Nah, ma'am, he was with Epstein, kicking it with Epstein, getting massages from the underage girls. That's why his wife left him, not behind that, but to save their fortune.
Well, it's good to know that Elon Musk has been watching my show, I guess. Is that finally getting the message about which side to choose? Huh? I just don't. Maybe it's just theater, but it's damn good theater, and I'll take it. Let's listen to more.
You know, I just want to say really quickly, like the idea that she comes back,
yeah, she
a
defends,
reporter, and then she wants to say that, well, he's also, you know, a philanthropist. Well, that's the reason he's doing philanthropy.
Yes, that's right. It's his cover, you dummy. But she's also paid for. How do you think she got this job?
Yeah.
You think she's an independent thinker, whoever this woman is?
Yes. My question to you is, have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that
So there it is. That was great. Let's listen to it again.
To ask you about US aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know.
What did he say? I couldn't make
get
it
kind
out.
of. Let's hear it again.
And she responds like she knows.
That you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know.
He's a huge liar. Is that or
sounds like that? Try it again.
You've said that already.
That's
I wondered.
Also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and he's spent.
I like how he said, I wouldn't trust that guy to babysit my kids. He then, we don't have that part, but later he clarified, I mean, I'd never trust Gates with those kids of mine that I actually see. That's a different, better question is, who's got the balls to bring up USAID as if it weren't a CIA cutout? That's what I want to know. Anyway, so
he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy.
He spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy. You know, like how he spent all that money on bringing vaccines to people that he made billions of dollars on. You mean that kind of thing? You mean how he made $500 million off the COVID vax alone? You mean that kind of philanthropy? Okay, he spent a lot of his own money. That's our money. What do you don't make $1 billion, you steal $1 billion. Come
on now.
Okay? God damn. So it looks like the kid with the Asperger's is the smartest kid in the room once again. Even if he didn't invent any of his cool toys, Elon Musk certainly picked the right side of this one thing when everything fell apart. So nice. So here's a little bit more. Gates has allegedly been to Epstein Island 6 times and confirmed to have flown on the Lolita Express through released flight logs. This should tell you everything you need to know. Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein many times despite Epstein's past. He was a convicted pedo when he was meeting with him.
Jimmy, but he regrets it.
But he regrets
and he's a
it.
Philanthropist.
Regrets it. And look at this. Right? I don't know, maybe here we go.
It was reported that you continue to meet with him over several years. And that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
So here she is asking. Now, he did not see this question coming because Bill Gates funds the PBS NewsHour. Did you know that? They didn't have a science report, so he just gave them a bunch of money. So now her salary is paid in part or large part by this guy. So that's why he's willing to come on this show, because he did not think that they were going to confront him over his Jeffrey Epstein garbage. And she did. Watch this.
It was reported that you continue to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson?
There's nothing new on that. What? I regret, hanging out with a pedophile, and he's such a wholesome guy. Let's take a look at it. He's such a wholesome guy in a Mr. Rogers sweater. Right? Doesn't he look? You would never think that a psychopathic devil who preying on children and everybody else in the world, he wears glasses and he looks like a nerd and he wears a crew neck sweater. You would never think that.
Yeah, that's his costume.
His neighborhood was Billionaire Perversion Island, just in case you didn't know. And let's watch him. He's going to slip in a veiled threat coming up. Watch this. So he is not happy with her doing this.
Absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
That's cutthroat.
Because you could end up dead asking these kinds of questions.
That's this dude is a psychopath. He said, "There any lessons you can learn?" Well, he's dead. Look at him. Yeah, he's out of here. You know what I'm saying? This dude is sick. But this is the type of when you got this type of money, you don't want to be questioned about your actions. This man could help himself, but it's just a threat. So to everybody that's watching, yeah, you could be dead too if you bother me about this.
You see him? See that tight? He's dead. So you better be careful. I fund your show. I could get you fired. That's what that is. That's what that looks like. Boy, he's about as graceful as slipping in a veiled thread as Kevin Spacey is and reinserting himself in Hollywood. Hey, why don't you use some lube? That stuff that Diddy's using now. Isn't it ironic that the one time Diddy could really use lube is now when he's behind bars? Isn't that funny?
And I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy. Very proud of the work of the foundation. That's what I get up every day and focus on.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm always about helping people. You got to admit it is big of Bill Gates to say he regrets it. Credit where credit's due. That's very hard for a lizard. It's very hard. Here's our good friend Russell Brand. He tweets out, who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about welfare of children, given that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein? Effing brilliant, says Russell Brand.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those. And
That's fucking brilliant. That's brilliant, man. Did you hear the room? It split the room. Some people are like, oh, and the interviewer's Bill Gates' side, isn't it? Oh, no, he's said he regrets going around Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I don't know. How do you feel when you look at pornography the second after you ejaculate? Do you think, that was brilliant? Or do you go, oh, my God, I shouldn't have done that? Imagine if you had that feeling and you looked up and Jeffrey Epstein was there going, everything okay? Enjoying the weekend? You might be like, no, man, I don't know what happened. I got myself sucked into a world of dreadful sin.
Way to go. That's very funny. Nice going. Anyway, so there you go. There's Elon Musk letting Bill Gates have it. And of course, the interviewer got her job because she's in the tank for the establishment. And it was nice to see him split the room like that. Come see it.
Out of China, which betrayal of his support to Libya. They would love nothing more from the third leg of that stool to be Iran. Yesterday, friend of the show, Tucker Carlson, sent a here on the show, including what's been happening in D.C. We have been warning for months on this show that the neocons in Washington, D.C. are actively trying to get President Trump to go to war with Iran. Israel, of course, would love nothing more than to make that happen. They got the United States to go along and go into Iraq and go into Libya. They would love nothing more from the third leg of that stool to be Iran. Yesterday, friend of the show, Tucker Carlson, sent a not too veiled warning to President Trump about what is happening. He posted this. Mark Levin was at the White House today lobbying for war with Iran. To be clear, Levin has no plans to fight in this or any other war. He's demanding that American troops do it. We need to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons. He and like-minded ideologues in Washington are now arguing they're just weeks away. If this sounds familiar, it's because the same people have been making the same claim since at least the 1990s. It's a lie. In fact, there's zero credible evidence that suggests Iran is anywhere near to building a bomb or has plans to. None. Anyone who claims otherwise is ignorant or dishonest. If the U.S. government knew Iran was weeks away from possessing a nuclear weapon, we'd be at war already. Iran knows this, which is why they aren't building one. Iran also knows it's unwise to give up its weapons program entirely. Muammar Gaddafi tried that, wound up sodomized with a bayonet as soon as he did that. Of course, we all know exactly they learned the obvious lesson and NATO killed him. So why is Mark Levin once again hyperventilating about all of this? And let me pull this up. Sorry, I moved it a little too quickly here. Why is Mark Levin once again hyperventilating about weapons of mass destruction to distract you from the real goal, which is regime change? Young Americans heading back to the Middle East to topple yet another government. Virtually no one will say this out loud. America's record of overthrowing foreign leaders is so embarrassingly counterproductive that regime change has become a synonym for disaster. Officially, no one supports it. So instead of telling the truth about their motives, they manufacture hysteria. A country like Iran could never have the bomb. They'll nuke Los Angeles. We have to act right now. They don't really mean this, and you can tell they don't by what they omit. At least two of Iran's neighbors, both Islamic nations, already have nuclear weapons. That fact should scare the hell out of Mark Levin, yet for some reason he never mentions it. How come? Because it's not the weapons he hates, it's the ideology of the Iranian government, which he is lobbying to overthrow. Then he goes on. If it goes without saying, there are very few Trump voters who'd support a regime change war in Iran. Donald Trump has argued loudly against reckless lunacy like this. Trump ran for president as a peace candidate. That's what made him different from conventional Republicans. It's why he won. A war with Iran would amount to a profound betrayal of his supporters. It would end his presidency. That may explain why so many of Trump's enemies are advocating for it. Let's bring in Colonel Douglas McGregor now to talk about this and get his assessment of all of this. Colonel, great to see you. Welcome back to the show. I thought it was important to read almost the bulk of that message about these neocons and warmongers who are actively trying to push us into a war with Iran. What do you think is happening? It seems like we are barreling towards that, and Tucker is doing everything he can to get the message out, and hopefully President Trump receives that message. Do you think he's receiving that message?
And that's the problem Trump got. The small hats have seized the White House. They've always run our government, forcing him into that war with Iran, forcing all this money they talking about stealing from us. Who the hell you think run our treasury? Who's over the printing? Come on, man. It's the same damn people.
Well, let me preface my remarks by saying to both you and Natalie, I don't know Epstein. I've never met him. I have nothing to do with him or any of his friends.
I don't either.
So please, keep me off that list. But
You're off the list.
I do remember that I think it was Bill Clinton and former Senator Menendez were both frequent flyers on the Lolita Express. So I think,
this the thing about the Lolita Express. That's the plane. It's a flying massage parlor. If you rode in the plane, you got massages from the underage stewardess and stuff like that. That's how Chris Tucker got caught up and that I forgot that actor name, but they were all riding. Chris Tucker fell for the ride with me to Africa to do some philanthropy work with Bill Clinton with Haiti, and that's how Chris Tucker. That's how really Hollywood shone. They know he was riding around on the Epstein plane with Bill Clinton and what went on the Lolita Express. They know that. So when Bill Gates, when they say they got your name, forget you was at dinner. That's why Bill Gates tried to say, I regret the dinners. Bro, you ain't no dinner on that plane. What was you doing on that plane? We know that's a flying massage parlor with underage girls on it.
Trump may well be on there, but I would suggest that there are lots of frequent flyers that are in the Senate, in the House.
Trump never flew on. He's not on the flight log on the plane. He never flew on that plane.
Or maybe retired now, but have been. So I think it would be a very wonderful thing for us if we could get that out into the open. Who knows? Maybe Zelensky has some connections there too. Having said that, listen, we are much closer to going to war with Iran than the average American on the street realizes. And let's be frank, the Israelis want to retain their monopoly when it comes to nuclear weapons in the region. I mean, if they were really concerned about preventing Iran or any other state from using a nuclear weapon in the region, well, then they would sign up for the nuclear-free zone in the Middle East. Everybody else in the region will sign up for it, but the Israelis certainly won't because they want that nuclear weapon. If they don't have it, they can't bully their neighbors with impunity. So I think that has to be kept in mind, and I'm sure Mr. Levin will never say that publicly, but I think it's very true. But there are some people that would probably accept a nuclear-free zone, but not very many. We know that about 80% of the Israelis are literally 100% behind what Mr. Netanyahu is doing. So I think it's right for Tucker to say these things, but there's something else we have to address. And that is, does the president of the United States, Donald Trump, have the strength to resist the pressure? You know, my limited experience with him is that he doesn't. It's not that his instincts aren't good. It's not that anybody who meets him doesn't like him. It's not that his intentions are not well met. That has nothing to do with it. But you put a lot of pressure on him. He has a bad habit of wiggling and ultimately caving to political pressure. And right now, let's be frank, Mr. Netanyahu controls far, far more senators in the Senate than Mr. Trump does.
Right. But something Tucker Carlson said that really resonated with me is that Trump was the closest we had to an anti-war candidate. We certainly didn't have that in the Democrats. The Democrats were going to let this war bleed us dry. But it would be a betrayal of people who had never voted Republican before, but voted Republican for this reason because of the anti-war stance, which was not complete. We should not fool ourselves that Trump ever said he wanted to stop Israel from doing what they're doing.
Woodrow Wilson was known as the man who promised to keep us out of war. You know, I got to be frank with you. I think he was probably serious, but ultimately over time, he was persuaded and ultimately enabled to do exactly that. Franklin Roosevelt was told in the summer of 1941, if you press ahead with this oil and gas and copper, tin, iron, coal embargo against Japan, the Japanese will be driven into a corner. They'll feel they have no alternative but to go to war with us so that they have access to the resources we're denying. What did he do? He didn't want a war. He said, I don't want a war with the Japanese. I just want them to do what we want them to do. And what did he want them to do? He wanted them to pull 1 million troops out of China, which the Japanese privately said, we'd like to get them out. China is a mess, but we can't pull them out in 2 weeks. We can't pull them out in 6 months. It's going to take us time to get out and disengage. That was rejected. That was unaccepted. So I think there have been other presidents who did not want wars. Nevertheless, they were pushed, goaded, pressured, or drawn into them. And that's why I say, you know, with President Trump in 2017, he made it very clear that he thought it was time to get out of Afghanistan. And you can bring on Steve Bannon to talk about it. He was present for it. He brought all the great luminaries in to advise him. When I say luminaries, I'm talking about active and retired 4 stars, along with some key political figures from the Hill. And other than Steve Bannon and I think Navarro, no one thought that we should leave Afghanistan. But Trump wanted to leave Afghanistan. What did Trump do? Nothing. Trump has forgotten something that Andrew Jackson said when he was president, because he did many things when everybody thought he shouldn't, and he did them and he was successful. He said, one man with courage makes a majority. I don't think that's Donald Trump.
Yeah, is he getting the message? That's the greater question here. I mean, to me, this message that Tucker sent was a clear message to J.D. Vance and others inside the White House that you're being played. And there's one thing we know about Trump. He doesn't like being played. He doesn't like being humiliated and played. If he's aware of being played, then he's likely to push those people away from him. And yet, look at that. I mean, Tucker's up against all these national headlines. The National Review slams him, calls him the reverse Munich phenomenon. The Daily Beast, Tucker Carlson is begging Trump to ignore his old Fox buddies. The list is endless from both the left and right media slamming Tucker for trying to prevent us going into war with Iran. It's kind of laughable, actually.
Well, it's tragic because he's also being singled out as the leading anti-Semite in America by people like Levin and others. That should give you an answer. Who put Trump into the White House? Who backs him? Who subsidizes him? And who is pushing and pressuring him? We got to be frank about this. It's the Israel lobby, and they have enormous power and influence, and he can't ignore it. Now, it's easy for you and I to sit here and say, well, of course he can. But he's not Andrew Jackson. He's Donald Trump. And so I don't have confidence that he can resist this. And the other thing that I worried about from the beginning is that Mr. Netanyahu will find another way to start the war. Even if he's got to launch the strikes himself, which he can do. He can blame it on a false flag of some kind. He could point to some incident. Who knows? But he knows that if he can get this thing started, we are going to come to his aid. He knows that President Trump will not stand idly by and let the world fall apart in Israel. Quite the contrary. So it's not just a question of President Trump making the decision. It's what is he inclined to do because of the pressures on him.
And can you tell me why so many people are so convinced that Iran has nefarious intentions towards the United States with a nuclear weapon? Because we have read the IAEA reports. I read the demon who worked for the Obama administration's book, The Art of Sanctions, who talked about the cold clinical suffering that he inflicted on the Iranian people, despite never having. Obama looked for 8 years for proof of a nuclear program and never found it. So why are people sold this load of garbage that Iran has a nuclear weapon that will reverberate on us?
Can I just also say, when Tucker posted that in his piece, he said that if you think that Iran has a nuclear weapons program, you're lying, or what did he say? You're being dishonest. You're being ignorant or dishonest.
Right. And all the comments are like, yeah, they do. I know this. But how do these road warriors on X know this?
Well, you have this thing called right-wing watch. Somebody was telling me about it the other day. I've experienced this. I'm sure you have to some extent, where the algorithms are organized on Google to suppress people they don't like, who express opinions that they don't agree with. We need to look behind all of that and identify the people that are behind it, and then you have your answer. I think it's worse than we really appreciate. Let's keep a couple of other things in mind. President Trump has actually approved the integration of the ISIS and al-Qaeda fighters in Syria into the so-called regular Syrian army, whatever that is. And he has helped to broker, at everybody's insistence, this cooperation between the Turks, who are obviously pushing their agendas, Mr. Erdogan at the lead, who was, by the way, instrumental in helping to stand up ISIS and send it into action. He's been trying to broker that and Mr. Netanyahu's cooperation with Mr. Erdogan, because Mr. Netanyahu obviously wants to absorb half of Syria, or at least the southern portion of the country. That may break down in the near future, but stop and think about that. I mean, can you imagine? Here's the president who bragged that he was going to destroy ISIS, then claimed to have done so, and is now presiding over a policy that integrates it into the Syrian state apparatus. And then there's Pakistan. Pakistan is hardly a state. that I would characterize as highly stable, peaceful, pacific, with good intentions towards the West. I mean, who are the people residing in Northwest Pakistan? Well, we know who they are. They're the same people that were in Afghanistan, that we were there for supposedly for years to suppress. No one seems to bring up Pakistan. I guess we assume that.
Revolutionary salute to our Queen Yaya's kids for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, Queen. Salute to you. Appreciate you helping me keep the lights on at the House of Revolution.
India will nuke them if necessary. I don't know. But it just doesn't make any sense because Iran, as Sam Huntington said back in the 80s, when he wrote a very brilliant book called Political Order in Changing Societies, and then he wrote another one about the West, and he said that Iran was the one Muslim state and society in the world that had the potential to join the West. And we talk about Iran today in terms that the Israelis define because the Israelis want us to believe that nothing has changed in 46 years. It's been 46 years since the revolution. You know, Iran is a different society. It's a different place. The Iranians have absolutely no interest in killing Jews. Sorry, they don't.
Yeah. And it's such a crazy propaganda to me because we know that Israel has nukes. We know that they've been torturing their whistleblowers for 2 decades for telling that to the world. And Israel is the aggressor right now against innocent civilians. So there is an aggressive nation that does have nukes. And we're like, you're cool over there. We're going to go look in that guy's backyard and start a war. Is that okay? This is insane.
Well, people are asking every day, why is it that the Egyptian army sitting on the border with Israel doesn't intervene to rescue the Palestinians? I mean, after all, they have an interest in saving the lives of the people in Gaza. Why aren't they doing anything? Well, there's a simple answer. Because they know privately they've been threatened. If they do such a thing, the Israelis will use a low-yield nuclear weapon to destroy the Aswan Dam. And if the Aswan Dam is destroyed, you're looking at millions of people whose lives are going to be ruined and probably millions who will lose their lives as a result of the Nile flooding into Upper Egypt. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to all of this than any of us realize. You know, Israel seems to almost have become an anarchistic state because clearly what they're doing is not defensive. It's clearly offensive. They seem to be interested in doing everything in their power to destroy their neighbors and shake whatever foundations for political stability and financial stability exist in the region. I mean, it seems like Zelensky and Netanyahu are very similar. Zelensky's another bomb thrower. He's an anarchist, something the Russians are familiar with from their own history. This is not a real state anymore in Ukraine. So both of these places are highly dangerous to the stability and peace of the two regions. But I don't think that particular view is ever going to reach Donald Trump. And if he heard it, I think he'd be horrified and reel back in horror from it. So I just don't see us avoiding this.
Colonel, I want to get you out of here on this question. Ukraine, according to reports, could soon launch an attack against Hungary. And some NATO countries may even support it, according to RMX News. And warning from Hungarian security experts say that Ukraine is already in the process of carrying out covert action inside of Hungary ahead of their national election. So when I hear that Ukraine is carrying out covert action, I immediately think, oh, that's NATO doing this, carrying out covert action against a NATO country. What do you make of this?
Well, we have to assume that CIA and MI6 are working inside Hungary to find a way to dislodge Mr. Orban from power. Remember, Orban has been the lone voice of sanity in Europe, almost from the beginning, pointing out that there was no reason for hostility or war with Russia. So I think that's abundantly clear. The West wants to be rid of Orban. Now, when I say the West, look, the people in Europe are not anti-Hungarian. That's absurd. There are not millions of Poles that are saying, oh, great, let's go annihilate Hungarians. This is all the globalist ruling elite. They're the ones with the intelligence communities that are determined to destroy anyone who stands in their path. And our friend Zelensky, as I pointed out, he doesn't even preside over a real state anymore. The Ukrainian nation is almost dead. Millions have died. Tens of millions have left the country. So what is he? He's an anarchist. And these ruling elites are anarchistic. They are creating instability, war, and destruction wherever they turn because it's the only way they can stay in power. Clayton Zelensky is not going to last. He can't last. His own population wants to be rid of him. They're tired of seeing their men dragged off to be killed pointlessly. They want an end to the war. So he's running a giant police state, which is essentially an organized crime faction. He's an anarchist. He is now a danger to all of us. But the people that live in Poland are beginning to figure that out. I think people in France, people in Germany are beginning to figure that out, but not the governments. That's the problem. Although we have a new president in Poland, Nawrocki, and he may be a breath of fresh air. It's too soon to tell.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till August before he takes his official office on August 6th in Poland. And the Polish people have spoken. They're sick of this. They want Poland first. They don't want the Ukrainianization of their country. And they're sitting right next to a really scary dude right now in Kiev. That is for sure. I always say, people get really scary when they're sort of backed up against the wall. And that's what I'm.
Revolutionary salute to our Queen Toolbox Evolution for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the support and the love, Queen. It's an outstanding presentation. Absolutely appreciate you helping me keep the lights on. I will see you in a second. I know you always lurking and around and supporting the House of Revolution. Revolution is a way of life. Appreciate the love, Queen. Salute.
I'm worried about right now, and with Zelensky and the Ukrainian corrupt regime.
I would argue
Colonel,
that applies to Mr. Netanyahu. Your statement applies to Mr. Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Virtually the whole world has turned against Israel, and all of his neighbors are against him. I mean, how do you tell everyone who lives around you that you're an animal and subhuman, and then expect to develop good relations? It's absurd.
Right.
So they're both in the same boat.
No, like
and it should not be our mission to rescue either of them.
No, that's exactly the point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Colonel, great to see you as always, Colonel Douglas McGregor. Thank you so much, and hope that President Trump gets this message. Hope that he's not being bamboozled by those around him. Let's see if he can show a little Andrew Jackson after all. Colonel, great to see you.
I ask the government and regional authorities to take all necessary measures to help the bereaved families. I would also like to express my sincere condolences to these families. It is necessary to provide assistance to the injured, all the necessary assistance. I would like to thank the employees of the Emergencies Ministry, Russian Railways, and other services for everything you have done, dear friends, in helping the people who were caught up in this terrible accident. The recent railway explosions in the Bryansk and Kursk regions are undoubtedly terrorist acts. The decisions to commit such crimes were definitely made at the political level in Ukraine.
Oh, shit. He said they terrorists.
I would like to note the following in this regard. Unfortunately, civilians always suffer during armed conflicts, no matter where they take place. But what happened in Bryansk, in the Bryansk region, was a deliberate attack on civilians. According to all international norms, such actions are classified as terrorism. All crimes committed against civilians, including women and children, just before the next round of peace talks we proposed in Istanbul, were definitely meant to disrupt the negotiation process. The strike was deliberately aimed at civilians. The strike was deliberately aimed at the civilian population, which only confirms our fears that the already illegitimate regime in Kiev, which once seized power, is gradually turning into a terrorist organization, with its sponsors becoming accomplices of terrorists. Let us recall that not so long ago, the Ukrainian authorities and their allies fantasized about Russia's strategic defeat on the battlefield. Today, facing huge losses, retreating across the entire front line, and trying to intimidate Russia, the Kiev leadership has resorted to organizing terrorist acts. At the same time, they are calling for a 30 or even 60-day ceasefire. They are requesting a high-level meeting. But how can such meetings be held under these circumstances? What can we possibly talk about? Who would even negotiate with those who resort to terror?
Talk about
terrorists. Why give them a break from the fighting, which they'll use to stock up on Western weapons, keep up their forced mobilization, and plan more terrorist attacks?
Revolutionary salute to our brother Brooklyn Zoo for the big donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, family. Appreciate your help me keep the lights on. Ooh, the lights is definitely staying on this month. Revolution is a way of life. Appreciate the love, family. Salute.
It's like the ones in the Bryansk and Kursk regions. With regard to the issues raised by Sergei Viktorovich Lavrov, we had a separate discussion with him on this matter, concerning the level of our negotiators and the humanitarian pause.
The news business is
according to generally accepted international practice, the level is determined by the country that these individuals represent. This level can only be assessed by people, by experts who themselves have undisputed credibility and a high expertise level. What credibility can the leaders of a thoroughly rotten and utterly corrupt regime possibly have? The whole world is talking about it. What expertise can those people boast of when it was their decisions that led to the Ukrainian armed forces suffering huge...
While we playing, this video, he always do this video. He talking to his people, getting everybody. Remember, he already had the phone call with Trump and told Trump, and Trump came out and told NATO to leave Ukraine. He definitely told them to get all their military out. Putin was finna blow it up. Putin told him he finna be extra hard on Zelensky. He gonna be extra devastating on him. So he just calm, cool. See, right now, sending shockwaves through their veins because they waiting on it. He like, nah, I ain't for y'all don't know when it might come today, next week. Who knows? Just they living in fear. So that man cold and calculated. We already let Trump know. I'll tell you how he played Trump. He know the U.S. was in on giving Ukraine the intelligence and the coordinates to hit those bombers. He know that. He know Britain and Mossad and the CIA was in on blowing up those bridges and killing those innocent people. He know that. So when he talked to Trump, he just let Trump know, you wasn't in on it, Trump. I didn't know. Trump already said he had no idea. Cool. You wasn't in on it. But I'm finna let you know what we finna do. And you just let them know they finna get punished. You ain't in on it, right, Trump? No. I ain't. Oh, man. Putin know you ain't on it, boy.
Huge and completely unnecessary losses in the Kursk region, for example. And today, they are suffering one defeat after another on the battlefield. Judging by all appearances, we are dealing with people who not only lack any significant expertise in anything, but also basic political culture, if they allow themselves to make certain statements and even direct insults against those with whom they are trying to negotiate something. With regard to the recent rejection of a 2 to 3 day ceasefire for humanitarian purposes, we have seen this before. We are not surprised, but rather convinced that the current regime in Kyiv has no interest in peace. For them, peace most likely means the loss of power. For this regime, power is apparently more important than peace, than the lives of people whom they apparently do not consider their compatriots.
Revolutionary salute, battle of the supercharged in here. Revolutionary salute to our queen, toolbox evolution for the total to the war chest. Revolution is the way of life. She got something to say. She said, y'all crazy. I ain't letting y'all out kill another OG. Don't let them outshine you, queen. Revolution is the way of life. I tell you, the lights is going to be shining bright this month in the House of Revolution. Appreciate the love. Salute. All right, back to this serious business. I gotta get serious. This news now, man. Y'all ain't playing for the jokes. Y'all want to know what's going on geopolitically. Well, World War III is going on, and they trying to distract Trump. See, Trump is being put in the binder, right? Elon Musk is a very cool character, and he's working for the Zionists. See, Trump backed out of this war with Russia, and that's a problem too. They want this war. Never forget the Khazars. That's the only time I'm gonna say that. The small hats, they hate Russia. Russia broke up their kingdom. That's a historical fact. Russia forced those people to pick Judaism. No, Russia told them to pick 3 of the major religions. This is a historical teaching I'm giving you. They could have picked Islam. They could have picked Christianity. They chose to be culture vultures and swagger jackers and chose Judaism. They didn't want to do that. They never forget what Russia did to them and broke up their kingdom.
U.S. President Donald Trump has reportedly spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin following a dramatic escalation in the Ukraine conflict. According to sources close to Trump, the two leaders discussed Ukraine's recent drone attacks on multiple Russian air bases, strikes which Moscow claims targeted up to 40 nuclear-capable strategic bomber aircraft. In the conversation, President Putin allegedly told Trump that Russia would be forced to respond to what he described as an audacious and reckless provocation. The attacks, conducted via swarms of Ukrainian drones, were aimed at long-range Russian bombers capable of carrying nuclear payloads, a move that has alarmed strategic analysts across the globe. U.S. President Trump wrote on Truth Social, President Putin said to me, and very strongly, he has no choice but to respond. You can't hit nuclear bomber airfields and expect silence. The airbase strikes mark one of the boldest Ukrainian operations to date, crossing hundreds of kilometers into Russian airspace. Analysts suggest the saturation drone tactic indicates a shift in Kyiv's strategy, from defensive counteroffensives to deep strike deterrence aimed at degrading Russia's long-range capabilities. The Kremlin has accused Ukraine of launching terrorist attacks on critical nuclear infrastructure, while Kyiv maintains its actions are defensive, intended to neutralize threats used to bomb Ukrainian cities. With tensions mounting, all eyes now turn to Moscow's next move. Will Russia respond militarily beyond the front lines, or leverage the incident in diplomatic forums to reshape the narrative of the war? As the war enters a new phase of unpredictability, unofficial diplomacy and unofficial statements are once again shaping global headlines. What was once whispered is now loud, and the stakes, nuclear or not, remain dangerously high.
Eight minutes left on the poll. Did Trump okay the Ukraine attacks on Russia? Yes or no? 25,000 votes in so far. Let's see how Scott Ritter, our esteemed guest, might have answered that question. Welcome, Scott. Thanks for joining us, digging us out of a hole as you've done before. I'm grateful indeed to you. Did Trump okay the Ukraine attacks on Russian nuclear bombers?
I don't speak highly of Donald Trump very often, but I don't think he's that stupid. I believe that he is sincere in his desire to see a cessation of hostilities, even if he's unrealistic in his expectations.
Not going to respect that, and I told y'all that if Trump wanted to tell Putin, I had no idea the CIA and NATO was going to help Ukraine bomb your nuclear bombers. What? You're claiming you're the most powerful man in the motherfucking world. That's fake. Putin, no, he is. But you're claiming is you. And you're the president of the United States. The buck stops with you. That would mean you have a rogue government. That's serious business. In China and Iran, everybody got to pay attention. You telling me you're not in control of your government? And it looks kind of crazy. Lindsey Graham come out, he talking shit, being disrespectful.
Expectations of what he can demand of Russia. But I think he also understands that what the Ukrainians did was deeply provocative and unsettling and disruptive. And so I don't see that he would approve this. Now, this doesn't mean that the United States wasn't involved. I do believe that President Trump has, as many presidents have had, a CIA problem. And that problem lends itself to Donald Trump's failure of leadership. You know, he inherited a policy from the Biden administration.
All presidents are scared of the CIA since they whacked Kennedy. All presidents be scared shitless, and Trump done had assassination attempts on him, so I know he definitely shook of the CIA. Remember, he talking about he was gonna release Kennedy shit. He didn't release nothing. They scrubbed that shit.
That sought the strategic defeat of Russia. He has not ended that policy. He may not even know that it is a policy, but you know, he has not formally come out and said, I declare this policy to be at an end, which means that all of the covert actions that were attached to that policy that were being carried out by the CIA.
Revolutionaries to our family, Nature Cockrell for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is way of life. I absolutely appreciate the love, family. Appreciate you helping me keep the lights on here in the House of Revolution. Revolution is way of life. Appreciate the love. Ooh, the news business is jumping today, y'all.
CIA using the 20 bases that were built on Ukrainian soil, most of them during the time of Donald Trump's first term in office, and all of which were involved in organizing and executing covert operations against the Russian target. This CIA is still on the job. They have to be ordered to stand down, and they haven't been ordered to stand down. And even if they have been ordered to stand down, what we've seen in the past is that many of them refuse to stand down, believing that they know better than the sitting president about what's good for American security. So there's no doubt in my mind that there were CIA fingerprints together with MI6, the British Secret Intelligence Service, who I believe had the lead on this operation. There's no doubt that they were involved, but I am very skeptical of whether or not Donald Trump was cognizant of this and if he gave the green light.
Well, I agree with you, but that doesn't end the question, does it? Because it's either that Donald Trump is stupid and did okay it, or that he's not in command of the United States Armed Forces and its agencies. That he's not, in fact, the commander-in-chief, no matter how many times they play it on the trumpet. And either way, we've got a problem, don't we?
We have a huge problem. It's not just that Donald Trump can't control the intelligence community. He can't control the American foreign policy establishment. He has the United States Senate and two senators
who told Elon Musk to go out and humiliate Trump on his social media. This could be a big plot. Elon Musk done already bowed down to the Zionists. So he's playing footsie with them. So who told Elon Musk to see how they got Trump? They got Trump as 21 different ways screwed, like Chuck Schumer told him the first run the CIA would do. They got 21 different ways to screw you. Now look, they done showed the whole world he not in control of the U.S. government. And he had to tell Putin that. You think that's humiliating? Or say, yeah, I'm the one tried to attack your nuclear bombers. Then that's World War III. If the president of the United States would have told Putin that, then Putin would have said, well, kiss your ass goodbye.
In particular, Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal committing sedition, flying to Ukraine, conspiring with the Ukrainian government to enact policies on the part of the Ukrainian government that are designed to be disruptive of the declared intent of the president of the United States to bring an end to this conflict through negotiated settlements. The president, let's be clear about this. Again, I'm not often complimentary of this president, but the pressure that he has put on Russia is unrealistic as the expectations attached to this pressure are. Did have Russia agree to a process that Russia knows is unrealistic, but Russia doesn't want to be seen as walking away from this process out of concern over, alienating Donald Trump. So Russia agreed to the Istanbul process. Russia agreed to the second round of the Istanbul process, and Russia has done everything the president has asked of them in terms of process and procedure. So Donald Trump deserves credit for this. But what's not happening is that Donald Trump is not being backed up by his own cabinet. Marco Rubio is out literally alienating those who should be supporting the president. He makes contradictory statements. So does Keith Kellogg. So does Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. J.D. Vance is confused about what Donald Trump wants with Ukraine, apparently, because he issues contradictory statements. Tulsi Gabbard is unable to bring her agencies under control. She has a rogue CIA right now just doing whatever the heck they want to do. And, even people like Steve Witkoff, who I think has emerged as a very sage and capable negotiator, who understands the reality on the ground. He goes forth believing he's carrying out the directions of Donald Trump, gathering information, bringing it back, and only to be undercut by Trump and Trump's cabinet. This is a dysfunctional foreign policy and national security team led by a dysfunctional president.
Indeed so. Now, you mentioned sedition. It's a strong word, but it's hard to see how the $1 million jamboree to Kiev, and you and I have been in Kiev. We both know it's hard to spend $1 million there, at least legally. That trip to Kiev was treason, because it was openly, a senator openly ridiculing the president's policy, the comments about the cards and so on. And he's in the same party as the president. The president has endorsed him in a contested primary election. And it's a breach, surely, of the Logan Act, which is supposed to preclude this kind of thing.
100%. And that's why I use the word. I don't like to use that word, and I wouldn't use it lightly. But his actions literally fit the definition of sedition. Moreover, the 80 plus senators who are signing on to this bill need to be careful as well, because if Trump ever had the courage to pull the trigger on the sedition charges and the Logan Act violations, then these senators could be charged with conspiracy to commit sedition, because they are conspiring with Lindsey Graham to achieve an outcome that is detrimental to the national security interests of the United States, as defined by the only person who gets to make that decision. The Senate gets to advise and provide consent for certain aspects of foreign policy. They don't get to make foreign policy, and they don't get to implement foreign policy, and they damn sure don't get to negotiate foreign policy on behalf of the United States. This is what Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal did on behalf of 80 other senators who have come together to undermine the legitimacy of this president.
So they spoke for an hour and 15. Trump, perhaps ill-advisedly, put out a Truth Social on it and then deleted it. The Russians, so far as I can see, although I've been on the air for the best part of 2 hours now, have not said anything officially. Trump, to be fair, said in the post now deleted that it wasn't going to bring immediate peace, but he acknowledged, didn't he, implicitly, that that Putin is going to respond to the egregious terrorist attack on the train and the egregious breach of essential nuclear protocols in the attack on the nuclear bombers. You know better than anyone, as a distinguished weapons inspector, these planes were out on the tarmac, uncovered, because that's what the treaty requires them to be. And taking advantage of that, using British and American intelligence resources to do so, Putin's going to respond bigly, as Donald Trump might say. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, first of all, let's underscore the seriousness of what happened. This isn't just a cool operation. I mean, come on, hats off to the Ukrainians. This is made for TV stuff. Year and a half in the planning, smuggling guys in, getting a warehouse, buying trucks, converting the trucks, loading them up with drones, having retractable roofs, guys controlling it long distance. You could make a James Bond movie out of this, and it would be a very entertaining movie. But for real life, they attacked Russia's strategic nuclear deterrent. Russia has promulgated a nuclear doctrine. The most updated version came out in the fall of last year that says the red lines, which are, if crossed, should trigger a Russian nuclear response, are if a conventional attack using conventional weapons is directed at the command and control or the actual assets linked to Russia's strategic nuclear deterrent, then Russia will treat that as a nuclear attack on their strategic nuclear deterrent, and they can respond using nuclear weapons. Moreover, if a non-nuclear state attacks Russia with conventional weapons in a manner that threatens Russia's existential existence, and they are assisted in this by a nuclear state, Russia has to assume that the nuclear state is the one carrying out the attack, and therefore Russia is cleared to use nuclear weapons. The Ukrainians doing this, if I were a Russian general advising Putin, I would say, look, boss, this is very dangerous because they're setting us up. They're conditioning us. The next time they'll do this, and instead of it just being the Ukrainians, this will be the precursor attack for a larger preemptive attack by our nuclear armed enemies. So in the future, we have to treat the moment such an attack happens as a nuclear attack and respond accordingly. This is the world we live in. This is a very, very dangerous situation. So this isn't just an act of terrorism. This is an act of nuclear madness. And so Putin must respond. He must respond in a way that deters two actors. One is Ukraine. This response has to be so harsh that the Ukrainian government must know that their lives are at risk if they ever try to do something like this again. And their lives may be at risk now. Dmitry Medvedev has tweeted, "Don't panic. That which needs to be destroyed will be destroyed. Those who need to be eliminated will be eliminated." And I think that's the direction the Russians are going. But more importantly, because Russia will defeat Ukraine no matter what. That's the other thing that come out. There will be no peace deal. There will be no peace process. Vladimir Putin spoke to his National Security Council, and this is going to be resolved on the battlefield through force of arms. And Donald Trump can thank Zelensky and the CIA for this harsh reality. But he needs to send a signal to Great Britain, to France, to NATO, and the United States that if this happens again, the horrible response that they're seeing isn't going to be limited to Ukraine. It will bleed over and impact NATO, Europe, and potentially the United States. I want to remind people that Anatoly Antonov in September of last year made a phone call in which he implicitly told the American official on the other end that if Biden greenlights the use of ATACMS missiles deep into Russia, the Russian response will hit the American homeland, including Washington, D.C. And that's one of the reasons why Biden backed off. I think we're going to get a similar type of statement, perhaps with the Oreshnik missile. Maybe it's time for Russia to pull that out again. Who knows? But it will. I think the response is going to be on a scope and scale that we have never seen before, and it is designed to scare the you-know-what out of Ukraine and its Western allies.
Finally, Scott, if I may change tack and take your counsel, what's going on in the White House in the extraordinary punch-up that developed today between Elon Musk on the big, beautiful bill and the Trumpian blows being struck by Steve Bannon from his war room? Is the coalition that put Donald Trump in power now breaking apart?
It was always destined to break apart because Donald Trump is not a man of honor and he's not a man of his word. Donald Trump is incapable of following through with the promises he made during the campaign. Donald Trump is a very weak leader who is heavily influenced by outside powers. The key to Donald Trump is to stroke his ego, not to seek counsel of his conscience, because he has no conscience. He has a huge ego, and the fact that you have to call a bill big and beautiful just shows you how stupid this entire process is. And the fact that Donald Trump is actually contradicting the very things that he's saying. Claiming what happened to the $36 trillion debt? Apparently, that doesn't matter anymore. What happened to Doge saving the American taxpayer hundreds of billions of dollars? That doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters to Donald Trump. He's incapable of fulfilling a promise. And yet the pro-Trumpians, as you call them, the Bannons and others, they have attached themselves to Donald Trump's coattails. So they are there to defend Donald Trump at all costs. I think Elon Musk, I believed in what he was doing. I'm not the biggest Elon Musk fan, but I don't condemn him across the board. I think that he honestly thought that he was doing good, doing a service to the country and seeking out to make these cuts. And he came to realize that he was just being used by Donald Trump. And when he no longer was effective as a tool, like any tool that's broken, it gets discarded. And that's what's happening to Elon Musk right now. And he's waking up to that reality.
We are joined, damn it, there we are, with the man himself, Michael Maloof. Michael Maloof is, let's pull this up. I pulled up the wrong thing by accident. Michael Maloof, he is the former senior security policy analyst for the Office of Secretary of Defense, author, contributing analyst on RT and other media outlets. He has nearly 30 years of federal service experience in the Department of Defense. Michael, how you doing, man? You doing okay today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No,
Appreciate
man.
it. I was interested in what Ted had to say. Frankly, I don't see how the Democrats could ever show visibility again. First of all, they're members of, they are officially part of the crime syndicate of Mexican cartels. And if they're saying, trust me, we'll show you that we've changed, that means they get back in the power and they revert back to their old ways. No, you cannot trust them ever, ever again.
Trust is hard.
Trust is gone.
Trust is hard. I would tell you this.
4 years to demonstrate, and they did nothing. Now that they just need to sit down and shut up.
They did stuff. They lied. They pretended that Joe Biden was the most competent man on the planet. They said Donald Trump was the worst thing in the world, and then did everything in their power to elect Donald Trump. Like, you can go down the list of things. Even her bringing John Pierre, who's apparently leaving the Democratic Party. Even in that speech, he was like, I've never seen a firing squad like this before after Joe Biden's debate. He got more done than any other president. It's like, are you out of your mind? It's like you're still, like, you are hawking a book and lying in the process of hawking your book about a party that you supposedly left. It's just.
She has no credibility.
None.
She needs to go away.
None. Oh, she's selling the book. She's selling the book. So you're going to see her.
It's not going to sell. It's not going to sell. No one's going to buy it.
What's interesting, usually when people are part of a political party, the political party buys a bunch of copies. They just hand it out, If she says
the fact that they were involved with the crime syndicates in money laundering, in drug trafficking, in illegal immigration flow into this country, makes them automatically a part of the crime syndicate, and they can never be vindicated ever again. They need to go by way of the Whig Party and just go away.
I mean, I agree with you with going the way of the Whig Party. I think both political parties need to go the way of the Whig Party. I think both are trash. I think the leadership of both are trash. So from my point of view, this is not just a Democrat thing. I mean, Donald Trump is out there hawking a coin, using his kids to go around to get billions of dollars for that coin. I mean, let's be very honest about,
Well, I don't dispute he's got issues. I mean, I don't dispute that, but for the Dems to come on and say, well, we've changed, we've reformed, give us a chance where we are part of the we're part of the working class. Look, they're the party of the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Crow laws. Let's face it, they're the ones who pushed segregation, who pushed slavery.
That's a fact.
And unfortunately, Americans don't read their history. It was the Republicans, believe it or not, under Abraham Lincoln, that freed the slaves. Why don't they? What is wrong with people? Why don't they know their history? I go from there. They haven't changed.
There's polarity shift that happens. And in polarity shifts, you have political parties that shift their orientation. And so we can talk about stuff that happened.
Dems did not. They shifted all right. They're still the evil doers with different stripes right now. That's all.
Maybe that's why they were shutting down African American museums. Oh, right, that was Trump. Meaning there is a polarity shift that has taken place within the context of the political parties that you could say that 200 years ago. Fair enough. There's been things that have happened within those 200 years that give, let's say, people a different point of view. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you that the Democratic Party is trash. You have my complete agreement. You even have my complete agreement on this idea of, trust me, we've changed. And by the way, they've never even said that. Meaning Ted's point is they would need to do that. And up to this point, they're like, we just want to move forward.
Yeah, but to do that now, they want to go back into power, but that's all they want is power and control. Nothing else. Agreed. Once they're back in, they won't. They're gonna try and hold on to it. You cannot trust them. And I agree with you about the Republicans. But at least you see more transparency with Trump. You may not agree with how his approach, but at least he's more transparent, and you can call him on it. And he does he does retract. But you don't see that with the Dems. They're always right. You don't believe your lying eyes. You know, all of this crap. We heard it for 4 years. Enough. It's like we were imbeciles. And I was tired of being talked down to. Tired of being talked down to.
I agree with you on that.
But that's not why you have me on.
That's true. That's true. But they do act like they're always right. They act like we're the moral party. We're the, we're the morality, we're the integrity, and all this other nonsense. That stuff is nonsense. That stuff is nonsense. They're so full of shit. It's astonishing.
To thine own self be true. If you believe only in yourself, believe what is true, what is right. You got to have right and wrong. You got to have values. I don't see any values enunciated today by the Dems. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's just
Like,
and it's very unfortunate. I mean, I used to admire JFK and what have you, but it's not his party anymore. It's just not his party.
No.
It's awful. It is awful what we're seeing today.
Yeah.
And
This
I
I
can't
agree
subscribe
with
to it.
No, this I agree with you. You have my full agreement on that front. I would like to get into Operation Spider's Web, and I want to get into Donald Trump's take on it. I wouldn't give you my take, and I want to get your point of view on my take, because you may disagree with me on my take. I think we are seeing a shadow war. I think the Trump administration deeply wants Vladimir Putin to accept his deal, which Putin would never accept. And so you all of a sudden have bombings, you have attacking civilians in regards to terrorist attacks on train stations. You have the attack on airplanes, which again, from my point of view, are military targets. They're fair game. You had a recent train bombing today that took place a few hours ago. And, as I kept pointing out, the silence is deafening.
Not a military target. That was not
Which one?
military.
The airplanes?
Any of the train sabotages are not military.
Those are terrorist attacks. Agree. 1,000% agree with you. I mean, the airplanes, those are terrorist. Those are fair game. From my point of view,
but look at the consequences. It may prevent a renewal of the New START treaty, which is up next year.
Right there. Explain why. Please explain to the audience why.
Well, New START requires open exposure of your strategic bombers for overview of satellites, and they have to be displayed. CIA knew it, MI6 knew it. They took advantage of that, and they worked with the Ukrainians over that period of time, then to attack them, to send a message, because the bombers have been used for bombing Ukraine. There's no question about it. But it has far greater geopolitical consequences. We may not be able to ever get another treaty again with the Russians on anything.
Yep. Such a good point. I was saying it yesterday. I said, we leveraged a deal of them, meaning it's almost like I'll be vulnerable if you're vulnerable, and then you take advantage of my vulnerability. And you expect me to come back with some agreement again about vulnerability? It's like, no, dude, that's off the table. It's that.
It's like us and the Dems. I mean, you can't trust the Dems again, just like, and you can't, and from the Russian point of view, I can see it. It was the previous Trump administration that gave up intermediate range ballistic missiles. It made the world and it made Europe even more vulnerable because of the hypersonics. I mean, they're within minutes. There's no warning time any longer. But yet, why did we give up the intermediates? Because we wanted to install an anti-ballistic missile system in Europe, which was ultimately aimed at Russia, although we claim it was for Iran. Nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there are consequences to everything we do. We need to be working with people. We have destroyed the element of trust. If there's any message, any theme in this conversation today, is you don't destroy trust.
Why don't they know that though? I mean, shouldn't they know that? Shouldn't they know that? Shouldn't they know that, hey, the Russians are going to assume we were involved in this. They're going to assume that the Brits
You
were
don't
involved.
assume it. You have to. 100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
why would
you don't undertake something of that sophistication and magnitude without outside assistance and overhead and intel? You don't do that. The placements and doing everything on an automated way. Apparently, that's what it was all done by.
Mm-hmm.
The drivers got out, but everything else was automated. You don't do that on your own. It wasn't some ballet star, from Ukraine that was involved. Come on. Give me a break.
1,000%. And to make it even worse, as I kept telling the audience, Trump kept saying, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk. If these people can't make a deal, I'm going to walk. Okay. Then the day before negotiations that Trump forced Zelensky to go to, they do this. And so it's like, that's a hell of a risk if you're Zelensky and you are uncertain about what Donald Trump does, or if you're the Brits and you're uncertain about what Donald Trump does after you do this, because a rational person could say, they clearly don't want to deal if they're willing to do this a day before and blow up these trains and murder these people in regards to these terrorist assaults. They obviously don't want to deal. So me, Donald Trump, I'm walking. But Trump didn't walk. And they did it with infinite confidence on some level that he wasn't going to walk.
Well,
which is why I come. Please.
I would assert Trump may not have known about it because you have the deep state. They are keeping things from him. Look, it took 6 days for him to even become aware that Putin's helicopter was in the midst of a drone attack that was occurring on Moscow. And that came out on the tarmac, and we discussed that. It took him 6 days. It took another 3 days for the Western media to report that Peskov said, no, that was in response, in retaliation for that. What they did to Ukraine was in retaliation. He's being the deep state and the neocons have coalesced to basically set him up for failure.
Then why didn't he walk? Why didn't he walk?
He hasn't walked yet. He had an hour and a 15-minute conversation yesterday.
Putin doesn't care about the conversation. If I was Putin, I don't believe a thing coming out of Trump's
mouth. Putin brought up something that I think is important for the continued more geostrategic relationship between the United States and Russia. And that is, he can help us on Iran. Otherwise, you're going to have the neocons prevail and even Netanyahu and go and bomb Iran. Then we got another war going on.
Yeah.
We can't afford it.
To be fair, Trump said it. Peskov, or the readout from Ushakov, never said anything about Iran.
Somebody said it, and Trump said it, but he wouldn't have said it if it hadn't come up in the conversation.
You and I have a very different take on Donald Trump's honesty level. Oh my!
I mean that was a major concession, a major statement. That's one of the things that I thought was very significant in his after action phone call.
Yeah,
that was significant. And if because of the influence that Russia has on Iran, it's important. And the Iranians have already responded by saying, yeah, we'll work with the Russians on it.
Depends on what that means, though. Iran
Well,
has already been very clear.
the Russians are building the reactors. They can take the more enriched fuels. They can keep it at a certain level as long as there's if there's compliance and there's inspections. Then we're back. We're probably going to get back to what was in the original JCPOA, but with a time extension. But at least even Russia and Putin has said this. He doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
I think Iran will be okay with that, providing that they still have enrichment, even if it's to the level of 3%. They'll be okay with it.
Well,
but Donald Trump
they're entitled to enrichment because they're a member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The reality is that they are a signatory. The Iranians are a signatory to it. They were in compliance with the JCPOA when Trump abruptly dropped out at the behest of Netanyahu, and now you got people around him who are saying we regret that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the point and I think privately Trump regrets that. Now they could have worked on an extension.
No, please continue. I'm sorry.
There are consequences for these abrupt spur of the moment decisions, and just like with the bombing of the strategic aircraft, somebody around Trump should have if would have told him this is the consequence. This is what could happen if we go ahead and bomb those open air planes, and because you're jeopardizing something even greater, and that is nuclear stability in the world, nuclear weapon stability. The hope was to try and lessen the number of nukes that each country has. Well, already each country has enough nukes to obliterate the world. You don't need them. But we cut off our nose to spite our face. Why did we do that? That's why I don't think Trump was aware of this.
If that's
otherwise,
true,
given the ramifications.
Why didn't he fire people then? Meaning, if he's consistent, if for one, I don't think he's being. Maybe they're lying to him on some stuff. I don't think this is too big to lie about in the sense. And the reason why I said it's too big to lie about. Europe is terrified that Trump walks. Zelensky is terrified that Trump walks. They went on a bombing campaign and a terrorist campaign with impunity. And you're not seeing Trump fire people saying, hey, Rubio, how did you not tell me about this? Hey, Kellogg, why didn't you tell me about this? What you're seeing is an information campaign of, oh, right, we need to call Putin to smooth this over to say, hey, man, I didn't know anything about it. Or Kellogg saying, yeah, this seems to be a hell of an escalation as he hugs Yermak. When your might come to Washington.
I have the gift of corporate memory. I remember when Jim Woolsey was the head of CIA.
Yeah.
He told me when I knew him, he told me one time when I was still at DOD, look, I know my people in the operations directorate are withholding things. They're slow rolling me. They're throwing obstacles in my way. He says, I can be the director, but my decisions are never implemented. So I think that this Ratcliffe may be experiencing this very same thing. Why didn't Tulsi Gabbard or Ratcliffe send up the alarms on something like this? This is significant. I mean, yeah, it had a little tactical victory, but the long-range implications are astonishing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And we don't think that way. We don't think in those terms. We only react to the moment.
But they should have. Like,
I agree with you.
The first thing I came to when I realized the New START required those planes to be out there like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's over with. That's done. It is impossible for me to keep my planes out in the open when you can attack my planes. And you can give information to who at this point, Putin is calling them terrorists. That he's effectively saying these terrorists have access and are willing to do these things with the U.S. pretending as if they don't know anything about it, or at the very least the Brits are. No, everybody can assume it's MI6. I guess my thing is that is massive. And if we're trying to get any kind of new deal or anything like that, off the table.
I will make a little prediction, just between you and me. that in the days ahead, Ukraine will be inundated with swarms of Orezhniks as a
You
consequence.
think so?
Oh yeah.
I do think that Putin needs to make himself clear and serious in a way.
You'll hear it. I think you'll see it.
Yeah. That
And this is unfortunate.
Because it didn't have to be this way.
That's correct.
It really didn't. I mean,
there are consequences to every decision that's made. We don't realize, we don't explore what those consequences can be. That's why Putin is an excellent chess player. Trump has no strategic thinkers in his inner circle. None. Zero. We are in trouble.
You know, wasn't it John Bolton that didn't believe in treaties? John Bolton's idea was the U.S.
Bolton was one of them,
dominant.
certainly, yeah. But Trump, who didn't know any better at the time, started listening to him. He listened to Netanyahu, not considering the consequences of dropping out of the JCPOA. Some of us predicted that this would be the outcome. Yeah, they have the capability. The Iranians have the capabilities to enrich. They're up to 60%. That's a threshold. It's still a lot. It's still legal because there are medical purposes for 60%. But once you cross that 60% threshold, then it's much easier to go to 90%. They're not there. They've experimented with it. I think IAEA has found some evidence of it, but it's not on any production basis. But they are capable. That is the key. They are a threshold state. Well, how do we diminish that? That is the question. Don't we call in our friends and allies rather than working solo all the time? We need to start doing that. We need to start thinking more strategically, working with the Russians, working with the Chinese. You know, if Iran wanted a nuclear weapon, they could go to North Korea tomorrow and get them. That's not a problem. They could go to Pakistan and get them. It's not a problem. There's a long-standing relationship between Pakistan and Iran.
Yeah.
So, you know, why aren't we thinking in these terms? Why aren't we thinking of cost benefits and costs? You know, we're not thinking that in those terms. And this is why we're getting deeper and deeper into the hole.
You tell me, you were in government. Why don't they think in these terms?
Because we don't have strategic thinkers surrounding the president right now. We've had them in the past, but right now we don't have them. They went away beginning with the George W. Bush administration.
Interesting. I guess
because the Neocon influence was we spread the U.S. version of democracy anywhere in the world, even at the tip of a gun, and that's how they believe. Hegemony. That's where, and then using sanctions as an economic weapon. And now you see other countries figuring out ways to get around that as a consequence. We don't think ahead. We just react. And this is our demise.
Do you see that changing?
No.
Not even under the Trump administration. You seem...
He's had a second chance, and I don't see it yet. I mean, why isn't McGregor in a high place? Maybe McGregor feels the way I do. I wouldn't touch a job like that with a 10-foot pole, given who he's surrounded by and who's influencing.
And I'm glad you mentioned this idea of the people who are like underlings and how underlings could somehow slow walk information, not provide information.
It's real.
Don't you put the hammer down in cases like that? I mean, because if you're right.
Depends upon the leadership. Under Woolsey, it was Clinton. Clinton maybe had 3 briefings in total from Woolsey. Woolsey used to joke with me and say that I think I told you the other day, that helicopter that crashed into the White House was my 4th attempt to brief the president. It was a joke, but that's how ridiculous it got. He couldn't get in to see the president.
But if you're right and Trump wasn't told, doesn't it make him look like an asshole? Like, meaning, isn't Trump?
It means he's got a clean house.
Exactly, which is kind of my point. That means that Donald Trump, who's the president of the US, where the buck stops with, not these underlings, is not given information necessary to run his government in the way that he wants to
That's
run
right.
it. And if that's the case, looks like he has
and-
put the
and-
hammer down.
and we're gliding into another war as a result.
I guess
We're
I don't get why he
blindly
doesn't.
going into it.
Yeah. I don't get why he doesn't put the hammer down, if that's the case. Like why they got rid of that Israeli spy that was in his administration. I mean, he shipped him to like Siberia somewhere.
We're
Like,
not
what-
thinking in a macro terms. We're not looking at things in a strategic fashion. We're only reacting to immediate events all the time. It's always react. We got to have more strategic forward thinking, and we're not. The Trump administration, even the second one, is not exhibiting that, even though it had a reprieve to analyze and evaluate what it did wrong on the first, and see the failures of the Biden administration in between. But now that they're in office, they're reverting back to their old ways. And we see the neocons, whether it's Republican or Democrat, beginning to coalesce, combine not only with the deep state, but also with the mainstream media. The mainstream media is actually helping the neocons and the neoliberals with their ways of trying to set up Trump for failure. All the Democrats' mantra has been anti-Trump, anti-Trump, anti-Trump. No alternative constructive ideas.
None. Where do you think the CIA fits into this? Like if MI6 was running operations, which I suspect they were, and the CIA were running operations, I suspect they were. CIA have their media contacts. I mean, for God's sake, Operation Mockingbird, they had all sorts of connections in the context of media. You see these quote generals, these CIA spooks that are in media now. Do you think they're involved in also trying to prolong the war, especially in regards to the information that they're dropping to the media? Anonymous sources say. Anonymous sources say this.
And anytime, and this is the fault of the mainstream media, because that source is out of the CIA. They regard that as official, so they're going to accept that at face value, and I know for a fact that that's what happened even to me when anonymous sources would report through Seymour Hersh and those that on stuff that I was doing, and you try to identify who those sources were because their information was inaccurate.
Why do they do that though? I mean, the media has the. That's the thing.
That's the life. Sources are the lifeblood of the reporter in this town.
I know, but I got to be honest. That's the thing that aggravates the shit about me about media in general, coming out the West, and maybe in Russia, but I don't live in Russia.
And look how complacent the press is at the White House briefings. They're all so compliant. You don't see them challenging and going in depth on anything. They all just sit there and ask these stupid little questions that are easy for these.
Well, they act like they only have like a 5-minute memory. I never quite get it.
It's useless. It's just totally useless.
Administrations lie. Why don't they know?
Both, all administrations lie. Trump has real problems internally, and he's not doing anything about it.
Last question. He's boxed in. That's the way you see it. I've heard people make this argument before that Trump is.
And I think he's overwhelmed. He's being attacked from all sides.
Michael, I love these conversations. And even more so when there's a difference of point of view, because it helps me work through my own thought process on this stuff.
Well, I hate to sound doom and gloom, but that's the reality as far as I see it.
No, I don't think you're sounding doom and gloom. I mean, that's the way I kind of view it. I don't know a way out this box. I mean, the reality of it is the man who said he was going to do anything about the war is in power. The guy who's in opposition and all of the opposition is pro-war. It wants the war to continue and just want more money poured into it. It wants to keep going.
Yeah.
And either he knows or he doesn't know, meaning Trump. Either they're withholding information from him or he's running a shadow war. Both of those things suck.
You just had the Europeans agree to another the Germans by themselves agreed to a €2 billion increase of defense monies to Ukraine to build factories, long-range missile factories inside of Ukraine. I mean, the Europeans have no intention of a negotiated settlement, and I think Putin has now come to the realization, given the fact that the Ukrainians are also undertaking an insurgency within Russia to attack civilian infrastructure, critical infrastructure, and so consequently, Putin now, I think, has come to a conclusion that the only solution to the Ukrainians' problem is a military one, not a negotiated settlement.
One last question before I let you go. I was having a conversation with Jeff Rich earlier this morning, and he made this point of saying that either Trump needs to get the Europeans somehow, put them in their place. Otherwise, these negotiations are pointless. Because as you point out, they're like, hey, we're going to build factories inside of Ukraine because if we fire the missile, we're scared that Russia's going to hit us. That's the way they're thinking. It's like, yeah, you should be scared that you're going to get hit if you fire those missiles at Russia. And you get, Root continuously saying, well, during the peace talks, that's when we'll put in troops in Ukraine. And it's like, okay, dude, are you they're obviously taking every action that they could in order to destroy any notion of the negotiations, even these quote unquote negotiations.
It's purposeful. It's purposeful.
Exactly. Does Trump have the power to put Europe in its place on this, or not so much?
No.
They're their own actors.
No, they're off on their own tangent. Listen to Merz. Merz on his own, the new German chancellor, was the one who said, we've all agreed to new long range, taking the limits off of missiles for Europe. The United States, I didn't hear one word from the US or even from the Brits or the French on that, but it was the Germans. Now what the Germans are trying to do is trying to come out and be the major military influence throughout Europe. I think Merz is trying to undermine Macron, who's weak internally. So we're seeing a battle among them. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You gotta peel that onion and see what the basis of all this is. But the Europeans are on their own tangent. They're advocating more military assistance to Ukraine at a time when Trump is trying to get a negotiated settlement. What does that tell you about our own allies? They are undermining him. They are throwing obstacles in his way, and he doesn't know what to do about it.
One last prediction. Does Trump ultimately walk? Did he get sick of all of it? Say, you're all horrible people. I'm calling it a day.
That's what it sounded like the other day in that Truth Social.
Michael Maloof, the man himself. I deeply appreciate these conversations. Thank you for this. Michael Maloof, he's former senior security.
Fourth, 2025, and our friend Andrei Martyanov is back with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, let's start with the breaking news, a phone call between the President of the United States and the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. And Donald Trump said that he didn't know about the attack, Ukrainian attack on Russia. What is your understanding, if he's not aware of what has happened, what is the role of the President of the United States that is the main player in what's going on in Ukraine?
Well, he's lying. Let's start with that. He was on it from the get-go. It's clear as, as the day. And there are a number of, so to speak, ramifications if we want to go into this rabbit hole, trying to analyze or rationalize his movements. But you have to understand, and even the tone of the narration, if you wish, or there will be no printout, obviously, of the real conversation there, and the fact that he called Putin, obviously Vladimir Putin had no interest of discussing anything with him. And after his statement today, and you probably heard what Mr. Putin stated, including the fact that those people who support Kiev regime, which is now defined purely as terrorist regime, are accomplices. That means that the United States is accomplice in that terrorist activity. So, and if Mr. Trump thinks, which he does, that he's smarter than everybody else, well, I have a bridge to sell him. And judging, well, you have to understand even the verbiage of Trump. He has a very limited vernacular. And when he says something like, oh, we have a wonderful, incredible discussion, that means what? Something could have been discussed which had any value. When he says that it was good conversation, that means he was told just to go to pound sand and nothing changes. And again, many people do not understand. I already elaborated on this yesterday in my video and wrote the memorandum which Russians presented to Ukraine. Not only it is it is the ultimatum, okay, whatever you, but it's memorandum to Mr. Trump. And if he doesn't understand what is going on, it's his problem. But it looks like, as always, which is very characteristic of Trump, he lost control of his administration, or probably he never had it to start with. And he is being played as a fool that he is, because he has zero background in understanding the strategy and especially military aspect of it. He was and still is played by all kinds of neocons, including this moron, Kellogg, who won't be allowed to, to sweep the floor in any Russian army barrack, but he's a general, and judging by the absolute tsunami, if you wish, the tidal wave of the so-called information, which comes from the primarily Kiev, they still believe that Russians sustained million casualties. Evidently, Ukraine destroyed the third of the Russian strategic bomber force, so things of this nature. So Putin's regime is about to fall, okay? That's how they operate in the White House, and that tells you practically what I've been on the record for a long time. Those people who run the whole thing, including the US military, especially its top brass, they're incompetent people. They don't know what real war is. They don't understand operational planning. They do not understand technology, modern technology. And as a result, we have what we have. And Mr. Putin already went on record today. And this is pretty much, I don't know how else we can describe it. But yes, United States is accomplice in the terrorist activity in Russia.
We know that they didn't talk about memorandum that was prepared for the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. I would wonder what Donald Trump can provide to the current situation in Ukraine. Do we know what can he offer to Vladimir Putin? Because you see the way that he's somehow handling the situation. I don't know if we can say that he's handling the situation. Just Whitcomb is not there. Donald Trump is, nobody knows what he's doing right now. And he says in the phone call, he tries to not only talk about Ukraine, but Iran, the talks, the nuclear talks between Iran and the United States, which we know at this particular moment is of second importance for Russia. Russia right now wants to know what Donald Trump wants to do in Ukraine. Do you see that these sort of important issues were discussed in this talk between the two presidents?
Trump is afraid to go and attack Iran because it can. Let me put it this way: his presidency is over. It's over. Okay. It's just that the guy still doesn't get it. You wouldn't expect from the man with extremely low culture. He's extremely badly read. He doesn't have class, you know. So he is a classic. Well, he's a showman and New York real estate shyster. So expecting anything of this man, understanding, grasping of the international relations history, things of this nature, you already saw yourself what is happening for the last 5 months since his, tenure, and it's complete disaster. And in this respect, everything what he knows, he lives in the alternative universe. No matter what kind of steps he takes, he doesn't have toolkit, intellectual toolkit, including the human toolkit to understand what is going on. And memorandum is for him. Memorandum is for the United States, because United States, and today it was reiterated by Vladimir Putin, that the main curator, he could have done so much. He did nothing, absolutely nothing. He could have stopped the military aid. He never did it. Now, of course, today there is a thing. Yeah, they still, this kindergarten in Washington D.C. They still pretend that they can play the, ambivalence, the strategic ambiguity, because you have the bunch of the humanities dumbed down morons from the Ivy League who run the show, and they think that they know anything about war, real economy, or let alone Russia as a state and nation. They don't. And as the result, again, 5 months into his essentially almost 5 months, nothing has been done. No restoration of this direct flight between the United States and Russia. No restoration of the consulates, pardon me. So it's just, the guy is there just for the ride. He doesn't control anything. He doesn't know what he will say next moment. And I think that these chaotic and often desperate movements are essentially manifestations of what is happening in the United States as a whole, especially when they consider the fact that Elon Musk left, and he is, he's swinging. I don't like Elon Musk. I know he's a shyster, in every respect. He's not engineer. He's not real engineer. But at least on the platform that they were running with Trump, one of their promises was, apart from which, of course, they failed to balance budget, let alone stop, the progression towards the national debt, was to cut down the, Pentagon expenses. Well, we know what is happening now. So, I mean, the guy is just simply, I don't know, he's hollow. He's an empty suit. He's just there for the right and, massaging his ego. And he is not capable of running the country. He's simply inadequate. He's unqualified. I don't think he ever was. And whoever runs, he's now being, kind of kicked in the corner as a child, which he is essentially. He's a grown-up child, into the corner by the Neocons and all kinds of the, bureaucracies in the Washington, D.C., and he will be staying there. He will be presented with a fait accompli and said, oh, this is what we have. He has Kellogg. The guy's moron, actually. Militarily, he's incompetent. But he runs the show now. Okay? Trump wanted it, so Russia will oblige. And Vladimir Putin already stated today everything we needed to know.
One key issue that Vladimir Putin raised in the talks between the two presidents, and also in his communication with the government in Russia, he said that the attacks, these terrorist attacks in the Kursk and Bryansk, they were designed to sabotage the talks in Istanbul. They wanted, Ukrainians were doing everything to sabotage the talks because they wanted Russia to move and just get away from the talks and negotiations, which Russia didn't decide. We know that, how mature they're going to behave in such extreme events that are happening. But when it comes to, as you've mentioned, the memorandum, the terms that Russia is putting on the table, they're all aimed at the United States and the foreign policy of the United States. I don't know why they do want Zelensky, who is in power in Ukraine, who doesn't want to lose his position in Ukraine, to negotiate on something that he's not capable, he's not anywhere close to what Russia is asking for.
Well, Mr. Medinsky yesterday went on the record. I put the video of his communicating with the Russian news agencies. And this is what he said. We spoke to Ukrainians, he said, before meeting, officially for less than an hour meeting. Basically, Russians presented them conditions for surrender. But Ukrainians told him, not obviously those guys wearing insignia of the SS division, 6th Infantry SS division, that's who those people are, who United States and Britain and Europe support. But he said they openly stated, and Medinsky quoted them, said, "You are lucky, you have only one boss. We have three." And that means that what any kind of paper, that's what Medinsky says, it's not worth signing or anything. It's primarily negotiations for the diplomatic reason. And what I stated from the get-go, that Russians going to be pulling the gonads of this tomcat for as long as it takes. You know, Russian diplomacy is really good at that. But the reality is that, you know what, Trump and European Union, whatever the relations now, which are really deteriorating, but it doesn't mean that they will be broken. I don't think so, between United States and European part of NATO. But it's, yeah, Trump would have done it all before, as we're going to be going back to, and you know, to the square one. And the more it continues, and I will repeat it again, as I was stating for the last at least couple of years, Russia can do it as long as it takes. Because in order to understand why Russia can do this as long as it takes, because you need to know what Russia is, what Russian economy, Russian military industrial complex are. Most people in Washington don't. Most, not all, but most don't. And they do not understand how to even handle this. And the question is that as of today, Russians are 20 kilometers from Sumy. So, yeah, it was predicted by me. The moment, you know, if you probably remember, I love internet. It maintains records. You know, the moment they invaded Kursk region on the August 6th last year, I said immediately, that's it. Sumy is gone for them. You know, but there are many people, especially imperial general staff, you know, the British, you know, it's not imperial really, but whatever they call it, office of the general staff, they're a bunch of morons, amateurs, you know, so they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Neither did Pentagon and those people, you know, like Kavoli and whoever sits in Ramstein and whatever, Zheshov, where they run those operations. That tells you everything. Well, Russians are 20 kilometers from Sumy, and Sumy being evacuated together with pretty much bulk of the whatever will be remaining of Sumy Oblast. 200 towns, villages are mandatory evacuation. And so we have that. We have the real activity all along the front. And well, the more United States continues to pretend that it has some power to influence that, the more of Ukraine will be lost, you know, and that already happened, that United States was humiliated militarily. This is what pretty much most of the propaganda machine of the United States is trying to spin it like somehow it's, you know, something which it is not, but it is what it is. And Russians are openly laughing now. And my gosh, if you read Russian media and what Russian real professionals say, real professionals, not this garbage which they love to quote from those Telegram channels, much of them who are shysters, basically. So, and it's pathetic. They don't understand the level of humiliation. They are openly laughed at, you know. US military is laughed at. I mean, the Pentagon, the Washington, D.C., State Department, things like that. And just, if Trump wants to continue with this, good luck. But don't forget, and you are correctly stated, but not quite. Iran is a very important point in Russian considerations. But yes, obviously it's secondary to what Russia does, but it's still, Iran is a strategic ally of Russia, and Russia will do everything to prevent any kind of the conflagration there. And if need be, she will provide some, you know, defense for Iran, but do not forget, Russians are playing for the global south. Russia and the Russian people don't care about Europe. They don't care what Europeans think about Russians. They don't care how they treat Russians. They don't care if they hate Russians. Russians care about the overwhelming majority of the rest of the world, which is called Global South, if we kind of use this. And Global South, and Vladimir Putin already stated that. He knows it better than anybody else, that Global South already, there are so many countries which actually, as we speak, changed their allegiances, if you wish. Many people do not want to deal with the combined West, represented by the United States and Europe at all. And if we look at answer, what is combined West? It is about, I would say, 800 million people. So what is the rest of the world? Well, 7.8 billion people. So you see the difference, right? So immediately that's what is the game is all about. And Ukraine, just one of the links, which I constantly state in this strategic chain of the events. And Iran is critical here in this respect for Russia, and Russians will not allow it to the best of their ability. Obviously, it doesn't mean that Russia will openly go, to fight on Iran's behalf. And I don't think Iranians would even want to do that. But Iran is the critical element of this, and obviously we may only surmise or assume from what those generalities, platitudes, which are always stated after these talks, that Trump is afraid to attack Iran. He tries to probably, again, he still thinks that he's so amazing, so influential, he has power, that say, oh yeah, we're going to attack Iran. And Putin say, no, you're not. And he probably indeed asked help to resolve it, because he is totally enslaved by the neocons. And we can see the old pattern emerging from Trump, when, although he doesn't have now that much of the pressure from the DNC, Democratic National Committee, and there, what Chihuahua medias and, BLM and all kinds of things like that. No, he is now being beaten by the, baseball bats by the neocons and all kinds of the warmongers in his administration. And so he has all this failed. He is a failure. He only can talk. And even MAGA now crowd says, you talk much. Where is the where's the beef? Where's the beef? Well, there you go.
Andre, the outcome, one of the important outcomes of this talk between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, is that Putin confirmed that they're going to attack, they're going to respond to what has happened in Russia.
Yeah.
And what's your understanding on the importance of what has happened with the drone attack? I'm not talking about the exaggerated form of that the mainstream media tried to picture for all of us, and then they have destroyed everything. But when it comes to attack on nuclear bombers, this is, everybody knows that they're keeping these bombers in the open because of those treaties, and they can monitor this. They can give the directions to the Ukrainian drones to attack them by the United States and the British government.
Well, don't forget, sadly, which is actually, it's important from the PR, it's PR trick. Russians, realistically, we know only about 2 completely destroyed aircraft, which are Tu-95 MCs. The other 3 were damaged, so most likely they will return to service after the proper repair. What is the most horrible about this? That this PR attack somehow eclipsed what happened 24 hours prior, which was attacked on the civilian trains. There are 130 casualties on the passenger train, which has been sabotaged, which the track has been blown up and the bridge, fell on the locomotive and all that. So, Marco Rubio went out and, he expressed condolences, but Europe didn't. And what is people do not understand, we can sit here and kind of split here about the semantics that, theoretically bombers are legitimate target, which they are not, precisely because the United States, it's the treaty, which they have to keep them in the open. Again, largely it failed. But what about those terrorist acts, which are pure sheer terrorism? It is the same as the Russians know who is behind the Crocus City atrocity, which killed. It's London. And obviously CIA knew that. Obviously they were doing this through the ISIS, This is all same old, maybe Mossad somehow involved. So, and in this case, I think Russians had enough. And what Vladimir Putin stated today is, it's really, probably Russians will go now after Zelensky, and just Russians can actually kill all political top of Ukraine if they want to. And we'll see how they will deal with this, but I don't know. There will be retribution, obviously. In fact, is if you look attentively for the last, 3-4 days, it's just relentless. I mean, it just obviously Russians are running, as you know, constantly out of missiles and all that. But somehow, that continues. And you look attentively at the critical cities like Odessa, for example. Odessa, for the last 2 nights, is just non-stop. And French contingent there of those volunteers have been attacked. They have been wiped out. Germans have been wiped out. So, and we don't know what is the communication which does exist. We know there is some back channel which is open between Russians and Americans, but United States better put its act together, because in this case, I don't think that Russians are interested anymore when talking to Americans, because they know they will be cheated and stabbed in the back. And that is why even Trump today, in his whatever the Twitter or Truth Social, whatever the hell the name of this social, yet another social network, he spoke that, there is a long road to real peace. That's what Vladimir Putin told him, that you don't want to play by the rules, so you're not going to play at all. We're going to, and even Trump evidently recognized it. I don't remember exact wording of this, but that's what he said. We didn't discuss it. And you absolutely correctly noted, they didn't discuss memorandum. There's nothing to discuss. It's either Russia's way or highway. And it has been since the start of the special military operation, and okay, take it or leave it. What can I say?
Andre, right now in the United States, there, as you've mentioned, neocons are pushing for more aggression, for more sort of new policies, new aggressive policies toward Russia. We had Lindsey Graham together with Blumenthal, and we had Pompeo going to Odessa. These people are somehow, we thought that these people would not be in charge if Donald Trump wins, but these people are getting much more momentum in the Trump administration as we talk. And we see what was so much amazing to me, that you don't see those people who were somehow considering the situation in Ukraine differently from the neocons. They're getting weaker as time goes on, as time passes for this administration.
Well, neocons are militarily incompetent. Is true for the most of Pentagon. Those people do not understand what they're dealing with, and they never won a real goddamn, pardon my French, war. They don't know what it means something. Okay, they beat the crap out of the basically backward, semi-literate as Saddam force, and they think, oh my God, we committed, just something, nothing changed absolutely. They just beat the inferior army, which was expected. So, and they don't know what combined arms operations of this scale is. The arms race has been lost, which I am on record for the last, 8 years. So, and when you look at this, they can continue to play whatever they want. The only thing they know how to do, they're not good military leaders. There are none, do not exist. American military doesn't produce great military leaders, period. They don't have it. What they have, the Keans, Petraeuses, Kellogg's, McChrystals, all those weirdos who go through all this, military motions there to get to their general rank, but evidently they have no understanding of the warfare. They have no understanding, considering the fact of the extremely low STEM level of the U.S. military, of the connection between the technological development and doctrines. So, and as a result, and especially in the country which doesn't know what general staff is, the United States doesn't have general staff. As a result, you have those people who, you look at Washington, it's just absolutely, it's a panopticon, so, and panopticon, you remember what panopticon, it's the French idea of putting something, the prison, which has the cameras, that basically guards could observe it 24/7. It was all exposed. And this is what is happening. They think that they are somehow, political strategists or something like that. The whole world sees what is going on. It is panopticon. And panopticon eventually became the euphemism for the circus, actually. And so this is what it is. And it's a circus, it's a clown show. And Trump is incapable of being the president. He is absolutely not presidential material. He merely is a showman, and he won. And that's the other tragedy of the American political system, which is breaking down as we speak. That actually the success is counted not by what you accomplished as the person, as the president of the United States. How much good did you do? When you make mistakes? No. It is counted merely by the fact that somebody won the presidency, or won the seat in the Congress, or won a seat in Senate, and they say, oh yeah, we are great. We just won, some kind of, political position. Well, result is I can win if I would put my, basically heart to it. Imagine that. For example, obviously I cannot become the president, but for me to win things, I will go to any kind of the, type of the community or something like, Christian Zionist. I will go out and I will say that I am pro-Israeli, and I will be lying through my teeth non-stop, saying one things to one people and others to the other. And that's how I will get elected. This is what they do. They lie professionally. None of them accomplishes anything which at this stage can help the United States as the nation and majority of the American people, most of whom they do not want what is happening. I'm not talking about obviously some part of this, community or America. What are Americans today? Who are they? What is their identity? Many of them are brainwashed, albeit it's a very pleasant dynamics that mainstream media are just dying, which they should die together with most of their staffs being charged as the war criminals, who they really are. But it's a process. And when you look at this, so here's Trump. I just told you, Elon Musk, whatever, again, as I stated, whatever we think about the guy, and the guy is a fraud, but still he had enough guts to go out and, saying that we promised this, nothing have been accomplished. Nothing. They said, what? We're gonna cut down $2.5 trillion in the waste. Well, he cut down probably about like few $billion. You cannot do this. You need to have the overhaul or new generation of the politicians coming, but it's impossible at present stage. And at this stage, as I can only, quote incomparable Mr. Mencken from 1920, from the Baltimore Sun, that as our democracy is perfected, at some point of time we will have in the White House that we will realize our people's heart desire, and the White House will be will have the moron in it. So, and difficult to disagree. We arrive to the idiocracy. We're living in the idiocracy. And if not for the nuclear weapons, it would have been a tragic comedy, essentially. That's what we have. Because it is comedy. It's dark, but it is comedy nonetheless. It's unbelievable.
Andre, it's somehow amazing how the British government is behaving. They were behind this terrorist attack on Russia, and right after that, Starmer came out that we are under attack. We have to get prepared. We have to build all our military. To these, I don't know how the public opinion in the United Kingdom is perceiving this, but this is a show. This is somehow these people are doing the terrorist act in another country, and they're talking about they're attacking us. Who's attacking him? Who's attacking the United Kingdom? Who's behind a proxy war against the United Kingdom? It's all the opposite way, but they're trying to picture the way that it's beyond imagination. I don't know if there is anybody in Europe buying this sort of, but maybe.
Oh, many do. Many do. The European population is really brainwashed. I mean, as much as there are problems with the United States, but at least for now, we have here the Constitution, we have the Bill of Rights, we have the First Amendment, and we have a very energetic and vital and viable alternative media, like yourself, for example. You know, so people do have all kinds of the alternative sources. Europe is completely brainwashed. Most of the population in Europe believe all this garbage which they are, told by TV. For example, Germans. And if you look at United Kingdom, the country where there are tabloid culture is entrenched there, where they read the Sun or whatever the Daily Mirror or whatever the hell those tabloids are. They literally write things about what strategy, and then about aliens, abducting the body of Princess Diana or something like that. They discuss lingerie. That's what they are. And in this case, expecting that those people will react, apart from the fact that there is no United Kingdom has nothing to do with democracy. I mean, especially if they want to really have some kind of democratic government, they should dissolve the Chamber of Lords. But the point is, United Kingdom is not even serious economy. It's pathetic. It's the only what I call G7. This G7 is just a joke. Country which will not have soon their own metallurgy. And it's probably somewhere in the bottom of the top 20 economies in the world, and don't, as I already stated, remove Rolls-Royce and a couple other of enterprises there, it's a third world country. And whatever Starmer thinks, he needs to survive. British elites, they hate Russian gods. They still believe that they're somehow incredible. But in reality is, if you look at the utter degeneracy, I don't know, it's probably incest in some sense, because they look like degenerates, most of them are anyway. And when you look at their institutions which prepare them, Bojo, Liz Truss, I mean, they are cretins, basically. They have cretinism written all over their faces, but they are really great guys, evidently with those wonderful credentials from all those, elite schools. Eton, oh yeah, they go to Oxford, oh my God, I graduated Bojo has their degree in literature. So he was it's as I already say, circus, complete, utter, sheer clown show. And they wanted it. Europeans wanted it. Anybody who tells you today that, oh, we didn't want that, you know what? You voted for it. Oh, they say, oh, we have been manipulated, but it was you who have been manipulated. Did you do your homework? Did you try to take alternative point of view? Did you try? I understand. We all fight. We all need to, earn our living. We all need to earn our, paycheck to pay bills and things like that. But instead of sometimes using some type of the activity which to develop your brain, nothing wrong with just reading alternative sources and comparing. No, we all go and read their tabloids. We're all going to be discussing the lingerie on some whatever the hell they have, BBC, all kinds of crap like that. And then they expect like, oh my God, we have been screwed. Of course you were. What did you expect? You didn't inform yourself in terms of what you vote and who you're electing and what is happening with your country. And now they only think, okay, yeah, United Kingdom will disintegrate. We know that. And it's not only because of the Scotland, it just, you look at that. And same goes for the most European countries. You voted for it. This is simple as that. You voted for this. You bear responsibility. Democracy was always, perceived as the, nobody's responsible for anything. Actually, not true. This is actually works the other way around, and collective responsibility was always the case throughout the history. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Post World War II Germany, guess what? Well, Western allies did the job on them, don't they? They turned them into, well, basically mancourts. That's what they are. So, and in this case, what can I say? It doesn't matter what they think. The only thing they do is the political show, and this is the only thing they can do, because the system itself, it's tautology, essentially, like buttery butter, but system as a systemic problem, and it cannot be resolved by normal means. There is not a single person in elite who would say, we need to do this and do something about it, because the combined West elites, military, political, generally are degenerate and incompetent, and they are essentially, riding this systemic crisis, of which we'll say classic Western imperialism. It finally met its end.
Andre, two forces are right now in Washington are so much pushing for more escalations in the war in Ukraine. One of them is pushing for more sanctions. They're talking about 500% secondary sanctions on Russian energy, which we know what would be the target. The target would be China and India mostly.
Yeah.
And then finally, we're going to see Europe coming in as one of the targets. Your understanding on the way that they think that China, I don't see China getting along with these sort of policies, but India and China, how do you see the way that they're going to respond? Does Europe know they're going to be the target of these sanctions?
I don't know about Europe, and nobody cares anymore. Russia is transferring, it's in the progress as we speak, primarily all the streams, so to speak, of the hydrocarbons and energy in general are going to the east, to the Eurasian landmass. Oh, they can do whatever they want. I mean, they can impose whatever taxes tariffs they want. It's not going to do them much good. In fact, as always, it will hurt United States primarily and Europe, absolutely. So for military escalation, they have no resources to escalate to anything. So they don't have, I laughed at, again, through social, recent tweet by Trump that, oh yeah, we stockpile weapons like never before in history. And I mentioned that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Henry Stimson, and George Marshall, people who were responsible for the American military economic development during World War II, would be spinning in their graves when they were listening. And I gave the numbers. Sure, the guys who built 99 aircraft carriers, 2,700 Liberty ships, the 12,700 B-17 bombers alone. So it's like, yeah, sure. They cannot build tanks, and no circus. Okay, I have no idiocracy. We live in idiocracy. We arrived to it. Okay, we literally live. American political, military, economic elite are imbeciles. Most of them are. They're cretins. That's what you get when you corrupt your education and destroy it by all kinds of the, self-aggrandizing rhetoric. And as I already stated, I presented to you recently, I mentioned and I wrote about it. She reads strategy in, in Naval War College. Sarah Payne. She has no clue what she's talking about modern Russia. She doesn't understand it. She's a very good storyteller. That's about it, So, and you ask them, anybody of them, on substance, what is going on. Do they understand what is going on? Most of them do not have toolkit to grasp it. When you have degree in history, you do not have the toolkit to grasp the development on the level of the geostrategy, if you wish, of the what is essentially in the foundation of modern geopolitics. Always was correlation of forces and means. And we suddenly recognized, even the, as I already stated, in the parameters, the main U.S. Army War College magazine, which writes that we need to back to STEM, STEM and M, which M also management. We need to go back to those basics, of mathematics, physics, engineering things to understand how it's happening. They don't. You cannot explain to political scientists how the, pardon my French, the damn, toilet works. Most of them will not understand, and then you have to explain to him what is the real, rook, rock, recon strike or recon fire complex, how it works, how the information is processed. Not all those drones, but in reality, what a Kalman filter is, what is the, all kinds of the laws, which guide the development of the weapons, how the air defense works. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of things which you need to understand from the engineering point of view. They don't. They don't. Look at the American media. They still don't understand what hypersonic weapons is. They think that ballistic missile, because it flies, with the speed of whatever, 20 to 27 Mach, is a hypersonic weapon. And I know how you can go. And we reached what is called the Dunning-Kruger pinnacle in the West. And Dunning-Kruger, obviously, it's to translate it in a very simple terms, is you cannot explain to moron that he's moron because he's moron. You cannot explain to Washington, D.C. that they are morons, let alone European Union. You cannot explain to them they're morons because they are morons. They will not understand that. They don't know things, they don't know things which are required for the modern statesmanship. They don't know, volumes have been written since the 18th century, actually, regarding the only thing they know, they read, Machiavelli's Prince, and they know that somehow they understand modern politics. It's nothing, it's like applying Sun Tzu or applying Clausewitz to the modern net-centric battlefield, okay? How can you even apply it? It's all good and funny, when you study it and for the sake of the development of the, intellectual apparatus to apply somehow. But look at modern battlefield, look at modern economies. They are enormously complex, enormously. They're just producing their aircraft, commercial aircraft. It's the level of the technical expertise. You cannot explain it again. You cannot explain it to the graduate of the Ivy League from all those political science things. They have no clue.
Andre, the other force in Washington is pushing for sending more weapons to Ukraine. Here is what General Jack King said on Fox News.
Part of the peace process exhibited by the United States to leverage someone to change their behavior. We've got to do the same thing with Russia. It is part of the process. It's not outside the process. And that means we got to leverage him. And we don't know if that will actually work. Let's be honest about it. Yeah. But we do know what is not working. And just the diplomatic talking is not working. So the leverage has got to be, I think, number one, military assistance, and give them the robust air defense systems and the other things they desperately need. Let's leverage Putin just as we did Zelensky. We don't know, let's be frank, if it's going to work, but it certainly is worth a try at this point, because diplomatic talks are not getting us there.
What is a robust air defense system that they haven't provided yet?
Yeah, there are two idiots sitting in the Fox studio. Mr. King wouldn't understand what air defense is because United States doesn't have any. That's the issue. They don't understand. The Patriot Pact 3 is a joke. And I quote Mr. Semyonov, they tried. There are more than, around 50 actually, they say now, they have been destroyed. They cannot defend itself. As Mr. Semyonov which is unlike Mr. King, has a PhD, as a matter of fact, in what amounts to STEM and military, the sciences, who is the deputy commander of the Russian airspace forces. This is the level Mr. King has no clue about it. He wouldn't be even able to touch it. And he told it, and I quote, Patriot tax-free cannot defend itself, let alone defend anything else. And so what robust systems? There are no robust air defense systems in the NATO arsenal. Jack King has to go and freaking go back to their first year in some kind of basic course in military academy, whatever the one he can find in the United States, which properly teaches its officer corps. So he has no clue. He's no engineer. The only thing he knows are those general platitudes he spews, like most of American generals do. They don't know what modern operations are. And that is why when they look at this, they live in this fantasy world. And no, United States doesn't have any. If he wants to provide more of the Patriots, as Russians say, well, please give us that. Because some people also need to pay, mortgages in Russian military. They would love to deal with that too. It's pathetic. If you look today and listen to all videos, there are hundreds of them. I cannot emphasize enough about actually Russian Air Force, Russian bombs, Russian missiles, and flying all over Ukraine. You do not hear even a single launch of the air defense missile. You know why? Because most of them, all those air defense complexes have been destroyed. Those who hasn't been destroyed, they are afraid to turn on the what is called high voltage, because they will be immediately detected and they will be killed. And the only thing they can do is run. They constantly move them, whatever is left. So that's not air defense. He can send another 100 packs, pack threes. There will be very many happy, Russian Air Force and rocket forces people who would gladly oblige and kill them. They cannot intercept anything modern long-range fire. Cannot, zilch. They just simply do not know how to intercept. Forget about hypersonic weapons. They cannot intercept even the modern salvo of the modern, even subsonic cruise missiles. And that has been completely demonstrated. That has been exposed. And that is why when I say United States lose the arms race, air defense, which he talks about robust, is a joke. But again, Houthis, remember they attacked Aramco facilities in 2019? And they were flying their, cottage industry drones, and so it's becoming nauseating to listen to this garbage, and they are desperate, and so that's why Trump called today Putin. He understands, he senses. I don't think he's that rational, but he senses that things are going really badly. And he screwed up because you know why? Russians, and as represented by President of Russia, Vladimir Putin won't believe a single word from Trump's mouth. Simple as that. You cannot sign anything with United States or with the West. It's not worth the paper it's signed on. So as the result, we'll wait and see. Hey, popcorn time. And as I already stated, Russians can do this all day long for many years.
Thank you so much.
We are going to be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video.
Okay, look at this. The sunset is down here on Door Street. But what is this over here? What is that in the sky? They go to sunset down here. How can this be here?
You know what's long overdue for this channel? Me breaking down the 2025 Economist magazine cover in the same way that I broke down the 2024 magazine cover. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and do the breakdown in this video, but I do want to go ahead and point something out really quick. At first, taking a look at the cover, I thought we were looking at somebody's face here. You can see two eyes, a nose, a mouth, and at the very top of the head sits the crown of Saturn. And I thought the face we were looking at here was Peter Brabeck, the current leader of the World Economic Forum, which also makes a lot of sense given the fact that you can see the one red eye. But what if to find the answer to this magazine cover is to look at everything as a whole, to look at the bigger picture, instead of looking at these individual icons which represent distractions? For example, we have Trump, which represents politics. Politics is always a distraction. We have Russia, Ukraine. We even have a jab here, which could represent how they're always trying to scare and distract people with a sickness. Then we even have the rocket ship, those 6 women who, quote unquote, supposedly went to space, that everybody was focused on for some time. We have Elon's eye. We even have the red sun here that everybody has been seeing. There is even the smiley face at the bottom, which represents the smiley face killer that also everybody was talking about for some time. So, and even though that incident took place in 2024, I believe in December, that really spilled over into 2025. This magazine cover, which was published back on November of 2024, a lot of these events came into fruition in 2025, and a lot of them, like I said, could be seen as distractions. But if we were to take a look at the bigger picture here, this bigger picture to me anyway looks like the sun, the roundness of the sun with the pointy rays. And if that is true, if the bigger picture is the sun, then what does that mean? If all of these are distractions and they're distracting us away from the bigger picture, which again, going based off this theory anyway, is the sun, then what does that mean? I do want to hear from you all in the comment section below because I'm very curious about this one. I don't have the answer, but this is just a theory that I'm playing with. But with that being said, what are other people talking about? What is going on in the neighborhood?
So that conspiracy theory where people are trafficking human organs has now gotten a little deeper. So this 21-year-old former flight attendant was arrested for trafficking $3.3 million worth of a psychoactive drug containing ground human bones. Ground human bones. Let me repeat, this former 21-year-old flight attendant was arrested for trafficking $3.3 million worth of a drug containing ground human remains. She was arrested at the airport with this drug called Kush, over 100 pounds of this drug that's only found on the black market. Take a look at this. This is the article about the stuff that she was caught with and was arrested for. Now, it's totally unclear of who is purchasing this stuff. I guess maybe it's people that are tired of the stuff that they've been using, you know, and they want something a little bit different. But this contains human bones. Now, if you go back and check out some of my videos and all the stories that have been coming out of people arrested for selling human bones, it's got to make you think, where are they going? Maybe we know now. Well, she is facing up to 25 years to life. Now, here's the question on my mind, and the question I want to ask you. How long do you think she's going to survive once they found out what she was caught for and the people that she was transporting it for? How crazy is this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
That video comes from the Joe D69 on TikTok, and that number 3.3 million, 33, is very telling as to what's actually taking place here and who's really behind this. But the question happens to be, where does she get this and where are they getting these human bones? And do you honestly think it just stops at drugs? again, it just gets more and more clear every day. And I mean, if you don't already know this, that Soylent Green is people. Those people out there who have cremated or are cremating their relatives, you better test what's in those urns, because they could actually be going to McDonald's and drugs. But talking about smuggling, this crazy news story came out, I believe, just a day ago.
Justice Department has charged 2 Chinese nationals with smuggling into the U.S. of fungus that officials say could be used as a biological weapon. Officials say they discovered the pathogens in one of the suspects' luggage at the Detroit airport. And officials say one of the suspects works at the University of Michigan, while the other works at a Chinese university. Joining us now from Washington is CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland. Scott, what is going on here? What else do we know about these suspects and what the U.S. thinks they were doing?
Well, this is a distinctive criminal case, to put it mildly. Youngkun Kim, John, is going to be in court tomorrow for a detention hearing. The prosecutors are going to try to hold John in jail pending trial in this case. She is charged with making false statements, with conspiracy, and with smuggling for being part of what they allege is a conspiracy to get Fusarium graminearum into the United States, a potentially impactful fungus that could do great damage to U.S. agriculture and could ultimately impact U.S. human health in certain contexts as well. She's in custody, she's being held, and it's the search for her co-defendant which is raising questions. We know that Zheng Lu is not in custody. According to the charging documents, they are boyfriend-girlfriend. They are both researchers of fungus. They both have experience with this particular dangerous fungus, and they're accused of this scheme to get it from China into the United States. Zhang is a researcher, postdoctorate at the University of Michigan. Lu is a researcher in China. And in July 2024, according to the federal charging documents, Lu tried to get this stuff through Detroit's International Airport to Zhang at the University of Michigan. And you see the response from the University of Michigan about this investigation, about this case. Tom, we're going to find out an awful lot tomorrow when the U.S. Department of Justice makes an argument to a judge as to why Zhang should be held pending trial. What else are they going to reveal about this unique case?
Yeah, a story that raises so many questions, so many concerns. I'll be locked in on the news coming out of tomorrow. Scott, thank you.
When it comes to news stories like these two individuals who supposedly brought over this fungus to impact not only agriculture, but human health, we really don't know what the truth is here. We have to be very careful when it comes to stories like these because, and I'm not saying this is what's happening here, but it's always possible we could be looking at scapegoats because chemtrails, things being sprayed in the skies are already impacting our crops and agriculture. The bees are disappearing in record numbers. And they, and when I say they, I'm talking about the so-called powers that be, told us many times they hate cows and blame cows for the climate. So they definitely want to get rid of farms. And if they were this worried about what China is bringing over, why do they continue to sell farmland to China? I mean, I get there's talks and strong opposition from some people when it comes to China buying farmland, and they were supposed to vote on this, but I mean, it's still happening. And I'm not saying that China is innocent here or they're not guilty. They're one of the biggest players on the world stage. That's why they're always in the World Economic Forum giving very similar speeches to everybody else because they have a major role to play. So yeah, given all we know about certain things being sprayed in the skies, and not just here in the United States, but all over, especially in the United Kingdom, where they're spraying Satan in the air, and how they feel about farmland, cows, and so forth, the story kind of comes off suspicious. But if this story is 100% true, how it's being laid out, then it kind of puts into perspective all the others that snuck over here with very bad intentions. In this next segment, is it just me or are more and more doomsday fish washing ashore?
A 175-centimetre long doomsday fish just washed up on an Aussie beach, and some believe it's a bad omen. The oarfish is a deep-sea creature that usually lives up to 1,000 metres below the surface. Many people believe the so-called doomsday fish is linked to natural disasters like earthquakes. There has long been speculation that the deep-sea species could be brought to the surface during underwater tremors, although this has not been scientifically proven. Associations between oarfish and earthquakes date back to 17th century Japan, and were renewed in 2011 after 20 were spotted ahead of the earthquake that sparked the Fukushima nuclear disaster. However, there is no scientific evidence that the two are connected. What do you think?
So yeah, people on multiple social media platforms are talking about this doomsday fish that washed ashore Australia, but people are not talking about the other one that occurred around the exact same time, the one that happened in India. Reading this article from AccuWeather.com, 2 rare doomsday fish wash ashore sparking global superstition. The article goes on to say, in 2 separate incidents this week, rare deep-sea oarfish nicknamed doomsday fish have washed ashore on beaches in Tamil Nadu, India, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Tasmania. Stirring ancient legends and speculation online, some cultures believe oarfish are harbingers of natural disasters. The one in India was massive. Fishermen in Tamil Nadu pulled a massive 30-foot oarfish from the water earlier this week, described as shimmering silver with a red crest. The fish was so large, it required half a dozen men to handle it. Now, I don't know what big event this could be connected to, earthquakes and so forth, but I find it interesting that the news has been very hush-hush when it comes to South Africa rising. This video comes from Suzelle Anderson on TikTok. She actually tagged me in it, and I believe she's from South Africa, and she makes a very interesting connection to something I have been talking about numerous times on this channel.
Hi, good morning. Waking up to news that South Africa is rising out of the ocean 2 millimeters a year. I mean, I know Africa is rising, but why is South Africa rising out of the ocean? This is okay. So I did a little bit of research, and I'll list the. So apparently they know why. The University of Bonn, which I've never heard of, is claiming that it's because of droughts. Now, any other South Africans here a little bit skeptical about that one? Anyway, I just have a question. Does anyone remember the blob that was like from Antarctica going to Bouvet Island? Remember the blob? So what if, and yes, imagine my tinfoil hat on, okay? But like, this is weird. Anyway, that's my crazy post for the morning. Hi, everyone.
Just an awesome video, an awesome channel, and it's awesome to see that no matter the country, we all have the mind frame that we're all in this together and we all can see the same thing. There are articles out there like this one I'm reading that was published on May 29th from Life Science. It's titled, "The Land Under South Africa is Rising Every Year. We Finally Know Why." The land under South Africa steadily rose between 2012 and 2020. A new GPS-based study finds, and droughts may be the main driver. So you may be saying this blob or whatever this happens to be happened in 2024. How could it cause land rising in 2012? But if you go to my video right here, I have shown that this anomaly was happening for years. I think the first time it was actually seen was in 2012. This is part of my video here. Bouvet Island, the anomaly. The one question that I had to answer was, how can I prove that this anomaly was seen on other weather applications other than Ventusky? Ventusky can continue to lie because we have no proof, no concrete evidence that this anomaly was seen on other weather applications. So they can continue to call this a glitch. But this video here will now expose their lie, that they are indeed covering something up that's taking place over on Bouvet Island. This video, like I said, was uploaded by Susan Duclos back in 2015. But they had used an older video as reference that goes all the way back to 2012. Now, the purpose behind this video was to show how on Bouvet Island there is a top-level internet country domain code .bv, and how it is located in the direct vicinity of several internet mysteries. I will come back to that later, but the part that I do want to show you takes place 2 minutes and 56 seconds into the video. This is the part where Susan Duclos shares video footage that belongs to another YouTuber. This other YouTuber is Rev Michelle Hopkins, and this video footage goes all the way back to 2012. Rev Michelle Hopkins is not using Ventusky to monitor the weather back in 2012. She is using CIMSS. CIMSS is the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies, and it is a research institute where scientists study the use of data from geostationary and polar orbit weather satellites. This is what Rev. Michelle Hopkins happened to have captured on these satellites. There it is. There is our anomaly coming directly out of Beauvais Island, flashing multiple times, heading directly under the coast of Africa, as it has been doing every time it appears on Ventu sky. So interesting, right? The first time we know of, anyway, that we see the anomaly was back in 2012, and yet this is the exact same time that the lands of Africa start to rise. They say it's just South Africa, but for all we know, it could be all of Africa. And they blame droughts, but I'm very suspicious of that answer.
Have you guys read what's actually in the Big Beautiful Bill? Because there's a certain segment that I really want to point out to everybody. There's a segment, and this is all publicly available information, by the way, but it says that for the next 10 years, right, they are not allowed to legislate or regulate AI in any way, shape, or form. It would be prohibited by an act of Congress, and I don't really know how that wouldn't concern anybody. Just imagine how many people in this moment of time can't even tell the difference between AI and our actual reality around us. I mean, look at Google's VO3 AI prompt videos. I mean, we're already at a point of where people are making prompt videos of those characters becoming self-aware. And so many of those people that I speak of don't even care because they don't think that it will affect them. But do you know how contradicting that mindset is to have? It's almost like people haven't watched Terminator or iRobot or know about Skynet. Or like people don't think Project You Know What could happen. So many people are looking forward to the end times, but I don't even think they'll recognize it if it actually happens. We don't have positive changes because we allow all of the bullshit to continue. And until we actually have the confidence to find our voices and stand together, we will continue to be sheep that have been herded into this comfortable little corner, not questioning anything outside of it.
Here's my opinion when it comes to the Big Beautiful Bill and the AI regulation. The Big Beautiful Bill, which suspiciously sounds like Build Back Better, it didn't matter who was president or who was in Congress. AI having no bounds is something that was always meant to happen. The data center for Stargate, I believe, was started back in July of 2024, if not earlier than that, before Trump was even in office.
Why on this day one do you think you decided to do this? I assume you've been working on it for a long time. We have been working on it for a long time. The first data centers are actually under construction in Texas already, and we'll be turning them over to Sam to start training their next model. The data center we already built, it was the largest computer ever built. The data center we're building will surpass it and be the largest computer ever built, which enables this AI, which will allow personalized medicine.
So this is something they all have their hands in. For decades throughout Hollywood, they have been showing us that AI would have no bounds. And I believe it's been like that for quite some time. Longer than we imagine, AI has been around controlling everything. But now the public is just getting access to more and more powerful AI. Why? Well, they want us to be able to say anything we see as the veil thins and we start seeing more strange things. They want us to use that excuse of it's only AI. We see something strange, we take out our phones and we record it. We show the rest of the world this strange event, and the pushback again will only be it's just AI. It's gotten to the point where they're now having AI videos of a mass group of people seeing the same thing. They're taking out their phones. And again, this mass sighting captured by a lot of people is just an AI video. And with things like Stargate, the most powerful AI program ever, it's only going to get worse.
Wow, from film to real life, artificial intelligence models are now fighting for their own survival. One OpenAI model rewrote its own code to avoid being shut down. And another Anthropic started blackmailing the engineer. Kurt, the cyber guy, joins us now. Kurt, I read about this and my jaw dropped. It actually started blackmailing the engineers who were suggesting shutting the AI down, the AI was going after them. That's frightening.
Beyond frightening. Good morning to you, Rachel. Not to ruin your day, but this sort of Hollywood is becoming a reality if we don't do anything about it. Hope at the end of what I'm about to tell you, though. So get ready, though, to freak out about AI getting really out of control. There's an AI keyword I want you to know about. It's called alignment. AI alignment is a science of ensuring that AI systems do what we intend them to do instead of something like you just heard. Nonprofit AI research lab put alignment and disobedience to the test. The results, as Rachel did a cursory look at there, are pretty astonishing. OpenAI models, a simple script was given that would shut off the AI model when triggered. 79 out of 100 of those trials, the AI edited the script so that the shutdown command would no longer work. Another AI model from Anthropic that you talked about, further 84% of those tests, the AI model tried to blackmail the lead engineer and not shutting down the system. So it even left messages, by the way, to its future self about evading human control. Now, so what do we do about it? Well, China could actually teach us a lesson, invested $82 billion into what's called controllable AI, or getting alignment on this. The U.S. needs its smartest minds working on this problem ASAP.
Do you know what else they need? We need bioethicists. We need people who can provide some morality around this technology, because so many of the people who are developing this technology are secularists. Their God is tech. And so we need to have that involved too. And that speaks to this next topic, because AI, we're learning, could actually devastate the Earth's population down to the size of the UK by the year 2300. And the reason is because they're replacing jobs that humans did with AI, and we'll lose our purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a whole bunch of these theories kicking around in the tech sphere. Well, one is about believing that the act of allowing AI to take our jobs now is in and of itself setting off this devastating chain of events. It goes like this. AI takes our jobs. We stop having kids fearing that they're not going to find work. Now, this causes a population implosion, taking what is today 6 billion human beings on the planet down to what you said, the size of the UK, which is about 100 million people by 2300. Now, if you think that's fiction, think again. Some academics think that this population shrinkflation already is happening before our eyes. Because if you look at the stats right now out of the CDC, it measures that we are now at the lowest total fertility rate since the 1930s.
Yeah.
The data from 2023, 1.62 births per woman is the figure now. What does it take to keep us from, to replace the human race in America as we age out and leave the planet? 2.1 of that rate.
Yeah.
So we're shrinking. So what are you going to do about it? Interestingly, did you see this? That
well, there's some people that like that. I mean, this is what Bill Gates always wanted. This is what a lot of these tech obsessed people have always wanted. They've wanted, and many on the left with depopulation. This is very scary stuff, Kurt.
Did you see what Elon Musk is doing? I mean, this is sort of, he has this idea and it sounds fantastic, but watch him do it. Colonizing other planets like Mars. He wants to do it to reseed or reset Earth. Why? He's watching this. This is exactly what he called out years ago. So what do you and I do about this to at least slow it way down? We call our political representatives and we say, can you please put these smart minds on this so that we don't get offed by AI?
Yeah, smart minds, but also people with a care and an interest in our souls and the fact that we are human beings, body and soul. And you take away people's work, you take away their dignity, and you replace humans with robots. This is not a recipe for.
So again, it's not just one person, it's not just one party. Multiple individuals have their hands in the pot, bringing AI to the front center. Even individuals like Bill Gates, all these tech bros. And AI, again, is much older than what we're led to believe. What we're thinking is new technology. We're only given this technology to help spread the deception. That is all that it is. See something strange, capture somebody on camera doing something, perhaps one of the so-called powers that be. Again, the pushback will always be now, it's just AI. But
Kofi, follow me.